Mormon space wives, let's create lives. Mormon space wives, God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives, Mormon space wives, space sex, magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives, Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola, I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives, magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives, let's create lives. Mormon space wives, God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives, Mormon space wives, space sex, magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives, Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola, I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives, magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives, space error.
They stole some Sumerian technology that allowed them to predict outcomes, and that technology stopped working in 2012. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I find it to be fascinating. I wonder if they saw Charlie Kirk.
Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion.
But the Dark Ages was a time when black people ruled Europe. So when you go into the real history, you'll see King James was...
That's King James right there. That's James LeBron. That's King LeBron right there.
black. He was not a white guy. You'll see his whole lineage of kings.
Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion.
Who was a homosexual himself, who was in love with his sister Lucretia, who they made the image of Lucretia to be Mary. And that became the Renaissance era.
Lucretia. So hold on, you telling me Lucretia? That's a black name right there. How you gonna say that the people that was framing the black people were also black? That don't make no sense. Lucretia is a black as hell name. Lucretia. Church even allowed it, you know what I'm saying? The church allowed for straight pimping. But that have been suppressed. Listen to my brother. In the 1500s, it was legal to be a pimp. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people.
You may think I'm being mean to you. tyrannical reigner? What is a tyrannical reigner? What is a tyrannical reigner? You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You may think I'm being mean to you, but I'm just your debate daddy. I'm your father figure. I'm your father figure. Clean up your debate room. Clean up your debate room.
You're a tyrannical reigner.
You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? What is a tyrannical reigner? 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 You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You're so high, you can't even talk. Are you drunk now? You're so high, you can't.
Ha! Oh yeah! Ha! There's only one thing that can bring this world together, and that begins with you. The word begins with you, not you. I'm gonna tell you what word it is. Ha! Oh yeah! Ha! There's only one thing that can bring this world together, and that begins with you. The word begins with you, not you. I'm gonna tell you what word it is. Usury! On the dance floor. Bankers, get that ass up! Bankers, get on the floor. Bankers, make the people super poor. RAPE, middle class. Bankers, shake that ass. Sweet cream. Sweet cream. CEOs. Yeah, I'm talking to you. CEOs, I want to see you up on them toes, on the dance floor. Get more hoes, get more paid, get more boats, get more laid. I want to see them CEOs ruining lives to the beat. Ruin those lives at 141 BPS. Oh yeah! There's only one thing that can bring this world together, and that begins with you. The word begins with you, not you. I'm gonna tell you what word it is. Usury! On the dance floor. Get that ass up. Bankers, get on the floor. Bankers, make the people poor. Bankers, get more paid. Bankers, get more laid. Get more laid. I wanna see your ass poor. CEOs, yeah, I'm talking to you. Get more hoes, get more paid, get more boats, get more laid. I wanna see the CEOs ruining lives to the beat. Ruin those lives in 141 BPS. Oh yeah! Sweet cream, sweet cream. You more lame, 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 lame. You more lame, 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 lame. You more lame. Shake that ass. Shake that ass. Shake that ass. RAPE middle class. CEOs, get on your toes. Your base. fiat clap. Shake that ass. Who's ready? On the dance floor. Aha! Oh yeah! Bankers, get on the floor. Bankers, make the people poor. Bankers, get more paid. Bankers, get more name. Only one thing can bring this world together. Destruction of the middle class. Ha-ha! And more fiat cash in my bank account.
All right. I remember this. Remember this? All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's some skill. That's a skill set right there. Pick a corporate thing. Pick a corporate product and just repeat it. I'm gonna do a cringecore mumble rap. Dude, what if mumble rappers are talking in tongues, dude? Mumble rappers have the gift of tongues and they just don't even know it. Yeah. I got that tablet. I got that tablet. I got that tablet. I got that tablet. Girl, I got that tablet. I got that tablet. And then the tablets, right? I got that tablet, a Quiznos. Got them Walmarts, got them Zans Club. I got them Circus City. I got that Circus City Huggies. I got that Blockbuster. I got that Blockbuster. I got that Blockbuster. I got that Palantir. I got that Palantir. I got that Palantir. I got that Wells Fargo. I got that Wells Fargo. Tylenol. Got that Bisco. I got that Bisco. Got that TJ Maxx. I got that TJ Maxx. I got Balenciaga. I got that Long John Silver. Got that Long John Silver. Got that Long John Quiznos, Pringles, Subway, Daisy Diddy, Corn Chips, Great Value, Cracker Baby, Palantir, Spirit Airlines, Spirit Airline, Spirit Airline, Spirit Airline, everybody, Spirit Airline. Yeah. Aeropasta, Lululemon food, got the Palantir, Kubian Chain, Great Value, Corn Chips. I got them Crocs, got that Subway. Got the Pepsi, got the Disney, got the Wiggles. I got the Skittles, got them Golden Corral, got that Lululemon, got that Shea Butter, I got that Fancy, I got that Funko, I got that Funko. There we go. I'm like a rapper now. Yeah, I'm a rapper now.
I'm a rapper now.
All you do is you repeat.
Mommy, wow. I'm a rapper now. Welcome everybody to The Limit. It's another live stream. I wanted to talk about some other things. I'm sure you're going to call in and talk about theology questions, but we got some crazy things happening today. First of all, some interesting news. The Pentagon panel warns Congress America is under control and attack from foreign adversaries and corporations. This was an interesting clip to kick this off, and then I'm going to play a couple more clips, and then we're going to get into this drama. Right, we got Big Don coming out against Tucker, Alex, and Queen Candace. Who's right? Well, I think you know whose side I will take in this battle. Not because I'm just taking sides, but because we have been calling out what we see as incorrect actions by the Trump administration for a good 6-8 months. Let's listen to this a little bit and I will comment.
Assessments here are correct. These are very covert weapons, aren't they? They don't leave behind bomb fragments, bullet holes, etc. They could absolutely be used by our adversaries and have very low levels of, very easy to deny that they were even there, that they were used. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things.
In that magic jab, and our ecosystem, as Rafe was disclosing, you need these amplifiers in us. And that was the whole game. That was the name of the game. Make each and every human a walking talking node.
And we're talking about the keystone part.
Now that's interesting because this is like alternative weaponry. And we did a talk some years back on silent weapons for quiet wars, which was an alleged leaked document, discovered document relating to the techniques that the deep state has. I don't think I titled it that. Maybe I did. Let's see. But I included it loosely in the global elite text because we can't really confirm. It does look like a real document though. And it basically says that they are going to restructure the U.S. into a kind of technocracy, and they know the weak points, the nodes within the logistical structure of how America's economy works to take out certain nodes. This is not a foreign adversary, it's the foreign elites that run the country, expressing a long time ago how they know how to, thank you, attack certain vectors in terms of the logistics of society. And it's actually a really technical paper. Half of it's so technical I couldn't make sense of it. But they talked about welfare, they talked about feminism, they talked about all these as techniques to revolutionize society. And because it was a document that was so specific and technical, it was hard for me to believe that would be totally, it does not look like a fake conspiracy person's made up document. I think it's a real document as far as I can tell. And if you're not familiar with it, it is kind of a classic. I think somebody's done an audio, it looks like. Yeah, somebody took the whole paper. It's not a book, it's more like a paper. And they put it into an audio. And so it's just one of the many texts. There's also the Dr. Day tapes. I would put silent weapons for, yeah, here it is. Here's the, well, this is a video on it. So, yeah. So here's a video we did on it. If you're looking for this subject. And Alex is talking about this. He references silent weapons for quiet wars in this interview that he does with these two guys. I'm not familiar with these guys, but they're basically talking about how this type of weaponry can be used. And this must be going around, I guess, because we have supposedly operations going on in regard to Cuba. And we're being told that Havana syndrome, right, which is where supposedly the U.S. embassy people were being hit with this mysterious signal, some form of EMF, ELF, VLF, directed energy weapon type weaponry or something. I mean, I'm saying that's not possible. It's just that, I think they said the same thing about the U.S. embassy people in Moscow. Of course, for those that don't know, anybody at the embassies, that's all spy stuff. That's the hub of where spy stuff is conducted. And anything coming out of the spy world, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Just like these supposed poisoning stories, Skripal and all these other things. I think these are made up stories. I don't trust the Skripal narrative. And that was one of the key elements that tied in with Donald Trump's supposed Russiagate, Russian collusion story. Trump was working with Russia, and then, Putin was working to have these, defectors, the Skripals, poisoned with Novichok. I think there's good evidence to suggest that was all a fake story because it propped up the Russiagate narrative. So Russiagate was really built out of a lot of these fake stories. Now, that does not mean I'm saying that Trump has not done terrible in the last 8 months to a year. And again, I'm an issues person. I'm not a team person. I don't follow. I'm on Team Trump no matter what. And if you don't worship the nation state of Israel, then you against God. Do you worship Israel? And if you don't, you against God. Don't nobody touching Israel is like touching my private parts. And I'll come at you with my shotguns. Don't dare touch Israel. Or don't touch Israel's private parts. If Israel touch you private parts, you better not do shit. Don't do nothing. Let it happen. Just let it happen. You deserve it, probably. Anyway. But this was an interesting topic because we just saw recently more declassification and admission in regard to the CIA suppressing information about geoengineering, aka chemtrails, all of which we talked about. I have chapters on that in my second book that came out 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, almost 10 years ago. I wrote 3 chapters on geoengineering. And it's because it's mentioned in a lot of the global elite texts. Brezinski in Between Two Ages talks about ELF, VLF weaponry, basically targeting an entire region. So again, silent weapons for quiet wars. So what these guys are talking about, it's not new. It's in, do I have it here? Yeah. Check this out. So mega deep state man Zbigniew Brzezinski. Dang, I need something to spit in, bro. What am I gonna spit in? I'm spitting this. Let's take a look at what your boy Z-Big said in the 1970s. And for those that don't know, he was a major globalist player. Jamie, these are the wrong glasses. I need the magnified one. They're in the case. That's my cool guy glasses. That's not my covert nerd glasses. They're in the wine mom case. The leopard case. Well, it's out there somewhere. It's probably on the, maybe it's on the sink in the bathroom. I don't know. Could you just take a look and see if you see it? So let's take a look at the comment in Brezinski's 1970. It's actually earlier than I thought. I always thought this was like 1972. 1970 book.
They're empty.
Okay. Maybe they're in your car.
I just cleaned out the car.
People are stealing sunglasses here, and they're cheap sunglasses anyway. What are we going to do about all this? I don't even know. I got to wear these damn nerd shit, these boomer glasses to read the text. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Full screen. And there you see this footnote. If you can screenshot that if you want. Try to make it zoomed in for you. And I'll read what it says. It's not a very long footnote. It's in the chapter where he discusses weather and atmospheric weaponry. As one specialist noted, by 2018, technology will make it available to the leaders of major nations a variety of technologies for conditioning secret warfare. That's the silent weapons for quiet war that we're talking about. And I'm reading to you from the top elites. This is not a conspiracy book. This is Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, which convinced David Rockefeller to create the Trilateral Commission for Zbigniew Brzezinski. That's the same Trilateral Commission that Epstein was brought in to be a member of as a legate of Rockefeller and the Rothschilds. These technologies for secret warfare, of which only a bare minimum of the security forces need to be appraised. One nation might attack a competitor covertly by bacteriological means through thoroughly weakening the population, though with a minimum of fatalities, before taking over with its own overt forces. Alternatively, techniques of weather modification can be employed to produce prolonged periods of drought and storm, thereby weakening a nation's capability and capacity and to accept the demands of a competitor. Now, Brezinski wrote that as a strategy of warfare in 1970 as an already known strategy of warfare. On top of that, early on, he talks about Skynet and the possibility of mutating man. So there you go. Take a screenshot of that if you want to read it on your own. And I'll read just the relevant sections. He says, the human being becoming synthetic rather than authentic is what he's talking about. He says, there is already widespread concern about the possibility of biological and chemical tampering with what has now been considered an immutable essence of man. Human conduct, some argue, can be predetermined and subject to deliberate control. Man is increasingly acquiring the capacity to determine the sex of his children, to affect through drugs the extent of their intelligence, and to modify and control their personality. So he's talking about genetic engineering and so forth. Speaking of a future at most only decades away, an experimenter in intelligence controls asserted, I foresee the time when we will have all the means capable and the temptation to manipulate the behavior of the intellectual functions of the person through environmental and biochemical manipulation of the brain. And then he says, this might also be connected to Skynet or satellite technologies. So, mutating man. And then he goes on to talk about weather weapons, and he talks about the Cold War and Vatican II, and how Vatican II changed the Roman Catholic Church. and Roman Catholicism as a kind of promoter of Western liberal democracy, part of the doctrinal warfare program. So just showing you that the elites in their own texts were writing openly about the things that the normies in the mainstream media, and even to this day, people in the establishment still laugh at and still call absurd tinfoil hat stuff. And they do that because they see crazy people online talking about those things. They see Queen Candace talking about Charlie Cork as a time traveler. And they think, oh, you must believe in lizard people and all this other stuff. Okay, well, that's all by design. But silent weapons for quiet wars. We also had the CIA declassifying, allegedly, that they knew for a long time that fenbendazole is something that decreases the whatever cancer is, that it helps it. Those were some pretty powerful revelations that I didn't get to when I was on the podcast tour, though they were in the news, and I wanted to mention those, even though we didn't get to them. And it fits perfectly with the silent weapons for quiet wars stuff. And remember, Brezinski says as well that the future technocracy that will be brought in has to engage in population control. So they want to get the numbers down, as Bill Gates says. And if you've not seen my little 11-minute video on silent weapons for quiet wars, it fits well with this topic. And then there's another one too, the day tapes. And if you've never heard the Dr. Day tapes, these are also classics, which have essentially been vindicated. So I did a whole podcast on those. Let me find those. Here it is. The great work, the infamous Dr. Day tapes. This was 4 years ago we did this podcast. And this was a guy named Dr. Richard Day, and he was invited to the Rockefeller-funded Planned Parenthood conference, which included a whole bunch of notable doctors throughout the U.S. In the late 60s. And he went to this conference, and it was, I think he said it was a weekend conference. And basically he was the only Roman Catholic that was pro-life that happened to be there and be invited. And it was expected that he wouldn't say anything or tell anybody about what he heard and what he saw at this meeting of all these doctors and people from Planned Parenthood. And it was everything that we've seen roll out in the last few decades. In other words, the hardcore technocracy, the pressure from above, pressure from below technique, and by that I mean, for example, pushing drugs at the same time as pushing government programs for drugs, right? That's a seemingly contradictory strategy that's used, but it's done on purpose because it's, again, pressure from above and from below. Excessive taxation, if I recall, was part of that. And I'm not happy because I had to pay my taxes today or else go to jail. As you guys know, you have to pay them even if it's technically, you know what I'm saying. And so it's always and I think the elites, quote unquote, they probably put that around Easter on purpose, right? They don't want you celebrating Easter. They want you to be miserable because of the taxes you got to pay. And, the world is built around hatred of the good, hatred of things that are good. Anyway, so the day tapes covered, as we said, mass stabbies, tracking and tracing, pushing like the Berelson memo. If you're not familiar with the famous Berelson memo, it was also pushed in the late 60s by the Population Council and the Rockefeller Foundation as a memo put out to it's the Berelson-Jaffe memo, all of the Planned Parenthoods to explain what the policies they would like to see pushed in the future are to be. And if you're not familiar with this, these are, again, conspiracy classics. These are real documents. You can go look at them. Let's see. I want a good high def picture of it. Let's see if we can find one. And if anybody finds this hard to believe, it shouldn't be hard to believe. It's frickin', the State Department Memorandum 200 and Kissinger's global policy report. It's called Global 2020. Here we go. It says all the same stuff, right? So, for example, I noticed there was a skeptics website attempting to debunk this. You can't debunk this because it's freaking in all these other books, dude. Like, it's not like, oh, there's just this one source, and if I can debunk this, then it doesn't exist. Dude, it's in like every elite text that we read, right? The Global 2000 report, which was, I think that came out under Carter, because originally State Department Memorandum 200 of Kissinger was under, I think, Nixon. And then Global 2020, the global report of Kissinger, came out under Carter. And it said basically, well, we're going to have to initiate all these programs to depopulate the third world, according to that document, or else the third world, it said, would eat up all the resources. Of course, that's not really what it was about. It was about, in the long term, global depopulation. But at that stage, it was put out for public consumption to say, oh, we're just going to depopulate those, poor African people. Who cares about them? They're going to eat up all the resources. But actually, the target, as we're beginning to discover as time progresses, is the honkies of the West are a prime target for a lot of these programs. Now, what does the Jaffe memo say? It says to social. Let's see if I can make this a little. Can I make this bigger? I don't know if I can make this bigger. Zoom in. Let's see. That didn't work. Okay, Zoom is not working, but postpone or avoid marriage. Promote this at all costs. Alter the idea of what a family is and family size. Compulsory state education of children. Encourage increased Skittles relationships. Educate family for limitations. Fertility controls and agents in the water supply. Encourage women to work. Feminism. Feminism right there. Feminism promoted by the Rockefeller Foundation, Planned Parenthood. Because then women will not be home person. What am I trying to say? Not homeowners. My mind just went blank. They will not be caretakers of the child. They won't be moms. Shit, why can't I talk tonight? I need some more espresso. Modify the tax policies. Again, same type of things I think that were in the day tapes. The bullshit I just had to pay today. Freaking insane levels of taxes. You wouldn't believe me if I told you how much I pay. Some of you would, but. And here's the thing. I won't say the numbers, but basically, I wrote Esoteric Hollywood 3 this year. Or I wrote it last year or the year before and put it out. Homemaker, thank you. Put it out. And essentially, the IRS steals everything that I made from Esoteric Hollywood 3. So basically, I wrote Esoteric Hollywood 3 for the IRS. So that's always a lot of fun. I'm honored that I could write a book for the IRS and pay them all the proceeds. So, child taxes, tax married people more than singles. Make a substantial marriage tax. Remove parents' tax exemptions. Give bonuses for delaying marriage and procreation. I don't know what this means. Chronic depression. Require women to work. Provide less childcare facilities as women are required to work. Limit public financial, medical care, etc., and loans to married people. Social controls, compulsory abortion for out-of-wedlock infancies. I mean, this is just hardcore, straight up technocratic, socialist version eugenics. Encourage contraception through payment benefits for sterilization, payment benefits for abortions, payment benefits for sterilization on demand, create better contraceptives, compulsory sterilization for all who have 2 children, except for who would be allowed to have 3. So this is a strategy paper that they put out. It's a real paper. And it's essentially no different than the ideology and the strategy of the Global 2000 report of Kissinger. Or excuse me, maybe it's Global 2000. That's different from Global 2020. And if you doubt me, you can look it up. It's a public PDF. It's been out here for forever. That's a different globalist document. Global 2000 is this one from Kissinger. Yeah. Global 2000 report to the president, 1980, a historic study commissioned by Carter, and that's Brezinski, Kissinger stuff, warning about environmental devastation, population resources, etc. Global 2000. This is it. And these papers are examples of when the government began to explicitly adopt eugenics and dysgenics based policies, right? And these are all public. We've covered Global 2000 many times, but it goes along with State Department Memorandum 200, which was Kissinger's early statement of the same thing. And this is when the U.S. under Carter, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and Kissinger officially adopted a dysgenics policy. Now, the elites would do dysgenics operations and things like that prior to this, but this is when the era when this became official policy, and you'll notice it's kind of around the time that Roe versus Wade and the normalization of abortions happens, right? National Security Memorandum 200 is the 1974 directive called the Kissinger Report, exploring how high population growth can affect the U.S.'s national security. And so thus he argues that 13 nations need to be targeted to stop their population growth. It was actually adopted later by President Gerald Ford as, quote, official policy. The nations included India, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, Egypt. They were deemed a risk to U.S. interests, thus to cull those populations was deemed by Kissinger to be necessary. Now, we might have some skeptics and some naysayers in the chat who would say, but you see, this is just how the world is. This is just warfare. Don't you understand that this is just part of what you have to do, right? It's unfortunate, but as the Western civilizational hub, the United States would have to engage in these kinds of activities, or else we could be outbred. The foreign countries listed might outbreed us and so forth. The problem is that same strategy was not only targeted on those populations. Eventually, it was targeted on all populations, and particularly the West, and particularly white Christian people in the West by design. That is also something that Kalergi talked about. And Kalergi's book, Practical Idealism, is not a conspiracy theory. I have the book. He's explicit. He says exactly what people say he says. And the Royal Society presented that plan and Lord Lionel Curtis's plan. And they said, we will go with both of those. We will combine the Kalergi with the Curtis plan for essentially the round table Royal Society model for a Fabian socialist future. So that's, again, these are all the same strategies and plans. You will not find a single global elite text or document or book that is pro-life, that is pro-Christian, that is pro-white, pro-Western, or any of those things. None of them. Not one. They are all geared towards a technocracy, a socialist order of some kind in the future, massive dysgenics and DEPOP operations. In fact, we've covered Arthur Kessler's book, which is one of the top elite texts, The Ghost in the Machine. And he goes further than the Barrelson memo and says, we actually need to put all kinds of drugs in the food and the water to not just cull the population, but to actually mess people up. I mean, he goes crazy with it. And then you fast forward to the book that Alex actually keeps that book in studio. I noticed when I went in there last time to host, you look down and you see like Alex's stuff and he's got a little handgun. And then you look over here and you see sitting right there at all times is Ecoscience by Paul Ehrlich and John P. Holdren. Or is it Holdren? No, that's the black dude. That's like says we need to brainwash people to not have guns. Ecoscience is I'm going the Science Czar. What was that guy's name? Is it Holdren? I'm getting my Obama era people mixed up. So this is the book. Yeah, John Holdren, that's him. He's kind of like a Fauci-ish kind of dude. He's a lesser known Fauci. And Paul Ehrlich is the other guy who was a heavy promoter of the mythology of overpopulation, the population bomb. Yes, thank you. Rachel mentioned the population bomb. Yeah. And I want to say too, Ehrlich contributed to a paper I read one time when they were pushing the coming ice age. People forget that prior to the global warming propaganda that they were using back in the 1980s, in the 1970s, it was, oh, we're going to have a new ice age. And then they rebranded, no, it's actually global warming. And then they rebranded it, oh, no, it's actually climate change. So you notice this PR move, they've rebranded this multiple times. The hole in the ozone. When I was a kid, all I heard about was the hole in the ozone layer was going to cook everybody. I don't remember the last time I've heard anybody mention the hole in the ozone layer. And did you guys see when Bill Gates was at Bilderberg a couple months ago, and he was confronted by who's that Jewish guy that does Rebel News? I forget his name. He said, Bill, I thought you were all about the climate disaster. We were all going to be like sink into the ocean. Remember Al Gore and Leonardo DiCaprio? We're all going to die. We're going to be sinking into the ocean. AOC, she said by what, 2025, we'd all be dead. Ezra Levant, thank you. It might have been his other dude, the Avi guy, the comedian guy. But they asked Bill Gates, they said, hey, I thought climate was the big pressing issue. And then this was actually a good call out. I don't agree with their like Zionist stance. I'm just pointing out, he called him out. He said, oh, wait a minute. You can't have all the green stuff and the austerity if you're going to have all this power for AI. And Bill Gates didn't say anything to that because where's all the climate apocalypticism that we've been hearing about for forever? I remember even Alan Watt a long time ago, and I used to have this article saved, and he was talking about how, not Alan Watts, Alan Watt, and he would say, they're telling you that when you're in the year 2020, there won't be snow anymore. And they're writing articles in the papers in the UK that children are being born right now in 2005, 2008, that will never see snow, you see. They'll only know about it from the movies or perhaps from books, if you're allowed to have a book. But as you know, the big boys, they've planned the future and they don't want you having books. And they're lying to you, folks. They're telling you that you won't see snow. I bet you those articles are scrubbed because they were not that old. It was probably 2015, 2011. I want to say it was either like the London Guardian or the Telegraph or the London Independent. And it was like, children being born today will never see snow. Global warming will reach such uncontainable proportions by 2020 that we may have a catastrophe, right? Just all this nonsense. Now, it's weird because maybe I'm in a bubble and I don't see that stuff. Maybe it exists in like normie news or something. I don't watch normie news or TV shows, so I don't know what kind of commercials come on. But they have really sort of stepped back from this obsession with climate disasters and climate. Remember when I remember those saying, even a few years ago, they were saying that women are suffering and turning to prostitution in third world countries because of climate change. You remember that one? That was a great one. Like just the most absurd. Oh, and then the other one, they were actually saying that America has all these refugees because we're causing climate change. And the climate change is bringing all the Muslims to America. I'm not joking. They were saying that maybe even like 6 years ago. The last time I heard a real climate push was during COOF. Remember? And Klaus was saying, we need the global lockdowns for the earth. The lockdowns have shown us that the earth goes quiet and gets a nice little nap. We should have regular lockdowns. Remember Klaus was saying we need regular lockdowns so that earth can rest? Like it's a baby that needs a nap. And the people on the surface are hurting it. I'm not joking. This is how they present it. So if we have fewer people, that actually goes back to ancient Greeks. Like Greeks thought that. They thought that too many people hurt Gaia. Anyway, but this eco-science book that came out, I want to say 80s probably. Let's see if we can find the actual date on it. Let's go to Internet Archive here. 1977. Interesting. Okay, so this has been out for a while. This is definitely a global e-text by far. Let's see if we can. I don't remember the exact quote, but let's see. Drugs in food, water. Let's see if we can, by chance, find that if we search it here. It's a 1,000-page textbook. This book's kind of like Changing Images of Man. You know, we covered that text because I ended up with the actual copy. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work because food and water comes up 1,700 times. Anyway, you can find this quote though, because Alex has played this quote like a million times over the last 20 years. So it's definitely in there. I'm not going to go through 1,700 quotes to try to find it, but if anybody has that book or you have a PDF or something, let me know the page and I'll pull it up. I'll keep this open here and we can see the actual quote so you guys know it's not made up. John might have a copy of it. What's up, man? John, you want to say something?
No, it's also in population and explosion.
You cut out there. What's that?
I said it's the part about putting sterilants in the water supply is also part of Paul Ehrlich's population bomb too.
Oh, he says it there too. Let's try sterilization. Maybe that'll be less frequent. Page 712. One step is obvious. The necessity of straining the growth of human population has been evident to thoughtful people. Chapter 13 deals with ways in which this has been attempted in the past and how it might be dealt with it in the future. In the current controversy about population control and development, questions of technology, how effective are they, motivation, how can people use sterilizations, etc. Okay, that's talking about educating people on it. Voluntary sterilization, we mentioned that in the Jaffe memo. Simplified sterilization procedures are needed. Laws that make it easier to get abortion, etc., is mentioned here. Mandatory sterilization for couples. This is just like the Jaffe memo. Compulsory sterilization might be a major factor in terms of Indira Gandhi's government. Family planning. Forced sterilization. It's talking about past cases of this. So this is basically studying places like China where this was done. Virtually every method of birth control is used by communist China. And they're basically saying we need to adopt these communist Chinese policies. This was 1977. Abortion sterilization. The use of abortion and voluntary sterilization through family planning should be promoted. There he says it right there. Compulsory sterilization. A lot about family planning over and over and over. Does anyone know the section where it talks about the famous quote, adding it to the water? I mean, I know it's there. I've seen it, but I don't know where it is off the top of my head. Does anybody have the PDF? If you're in, you guys are in that. We have a really smart chat. You guys are on top of the game. Stallion, what's up, man? Stallion, you want to unmute?
Yeah, how you doing, Jay?
Good. What's on your mind?
Not much. Now I want to ask you before I accidentally waste your time. Is this just on topic, or could I just ask you anything in regards to?
Well, I'm sure that people are going to ask me the theology questions, so feel free.
You're good. You're good. I told honestly, I just left the an Antiochian Orthodox church for I think today's the Herring of Hades or Good Friday. I don't know how the calendar works, so happy Good Friday to you, if that's how you say it. But I wanted to ask you just very briefly here. When we talk about Christ being the eternally begotten Son, a guy tried to, straw man an argument where he said that because within the Torah, God does not, disclose that he has a eternally begotten Son, like by that direct word. Like multiplicity isn't synonymous to the eternally begotten Son. That Christ is, it's a fabrication on behalf of Christ or something or so on. And I was going to ask you, when the Old Testament refers to the word of the Lord or the hand of the Lord or the angel of the Lord, how do we know that that's Christ and not four multiplicities of that God had and so on and so forth, if you get my question?
Yeah, I've done many talks on the Theophanies, particularly in refuting the Muslims. I have a whole talk 3 hours long on the Trinity in the Old Testament. Even today, Jewish scholars are beginning to admit that there are multiple hypostases in the Trinity, and you can see that in my opening statement to Daniel Hakikachu that I put up as a clip called The Jewish Trinity, I think is what I called it. These are things I would recommend. I have another talk called The Trinity in the Torah, and that one is just covering, because when I did the 3 hour talk like 6 years ago, there were a whole bunch of theophanies that I missed. And so when I went back and reread the Torah, I did a whole bunch of, I did the theophanies throughout the whole Torah. And I think in part 2, we got all the way up to, I got all of them but 1 or 2. I missed 1 or 2. One of the ones I might have missed, by the way, is actually pretty relevant for theophanies in regard to a recent question that came up about, are the theophanies created? So I had a good talk with Bryce J again today. We were DMing over this issue, and it's a good question. I don't think Bryce J had a bad motives or anything when he was asking this question, because what you have is essentially Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, wants to pit the Orthodox against one another. That's always been his strategy. So he's trying to find ways that he can pit Nick and Bryce against our side of things, or people over in our sphere. We're all Orthodox, so we shouldn't be pitted against each other first and foremost. But the question is, well, how do we have theophanies in time and space that are uncreated if, what appears to appear is like a cloud, a tongue of fire, pillar of fire, all these different manifestations that sometimes the Palamite synods or the saints say is only visible to those whose nous is purified, right? So in other words, the uncreated light was only seen by those who were at Tabor, that were in a state of humility and were given the grace essentially to see these things. And so Mansurides has a good little book on Palamos, and he quotes Palamos as saying that even the visible physical eyes of the saints were at times deified to see the uncreated manifestations or the theophanies. Now, what comes up is an interesting question, Because in Leviticus 9, as you guys know, I've cited that one many, many times, all of Israel sees the glory of God, and they see the fire consume the offering. So if they all see, quote, the glory of God, and the Old Testament fire theophany comes down and consumes the offering, I understand why some people could argue, they could think, well, maybe that's a created fire or something, an angelic fire that's just, cooking, barbecuing the meats. But I tend to think that because Hebrews says our God is an uncreated, or an all-consuming fire, that Paul's referencing in the context of Hebrews the Old Testament manifestations of the fire consuming the offering on the altars. So, if God is an all-consuming fire, and if St. Mark of Ephesus used that text to argue against the papal teaching of purgatory, that there is no created fire of God and that God has no created fire, then I would argue that the all-consuming God is the fire that is present in Leviticus 9 in terms of the offering. Now, he's asked a great question, though. What about the fact, though, that probably all the Israelites were not believing? So I thought about this, and I thought, well, there's also the case of Balaam, the pagan prophet. And perhaps in the chapter on Balaam in Numbers 22, we could find some insights. And lo and behold, thanks to divine providence, the answer to my question was right there in the text, and perhaps to other people's questions as well. So as you guys know, right, God appears to the donkey in this story. And initially, Balaam doesn't see the Logos. He doesn't see the angel of the Lord. But it says, as we get down to verse 22, I think, and it says, the angel of the Lord stood in the way, and he kept beating the horse to get it to go. And the Lord, it says in verse 31, it says, God opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing there. So I think that the answer is that even for a pagan prophet, it still requires God opening his eyes. And we all know Balaam is that unique Old Testament instance of a pagan prophet who prophesied by the Holy Spirit. So we know he wasn't a true believer, and we know that his noose was not, quote unquote, properly cleansed. So the question is, well, then how does God still manifest to those who are not necessarily purified? I would say in some way he's still able to do that, because if he can prophesy through an unbeliever, it seems plausible that he could also open their eyes for a time to even perceive a theophanic manifestation. And so that's how he's able to see the angel of the Lord standing there in the pathway, blocking his movement. So in other words, I think the text itself here, number 22, is actually insightful to how theophanies manifest and are visible, even though they mysteriously come and go. And I always make this point too. It's like people that have an issue with that. It's like, well, but how can God come and go? Well, how can God limit himself, right? And yet we have the passage in Philippians 2 in the kenosis text that the second hypostasis of the Godhead limited himself to be born of a woman, to adopt our holy and lowly state, or our humble and lowly state. And so if you think about just the incarnation, it's the same principle, right? In other words, you really have the second person of the Godhead in Jerusalem and not in Galilee. Now, by his divine nature, he's omnipresent, right? So in one sense, yes, he's everywhere. He's still in Galilee when he's in Jerusalem. But in another mode, namely in the mode of being incarnate, he's uniquely present in one place in a way that he's not present in another place, right? And thus, you have, I think, the same principle behind a theophany, right? Because the theophanies move in time and space, right? The pillar of cloud and fire is with the Jews in the wilderness. So because God set up the logical structure of the created order, he can go beyond the logical structure of the created order. Not saying he can, quote, contradict himself, but in some way he can do these things that seem out of our realm of possibility. I mean, we believe in the second person becoming an infant. So why is it any harder to believe that a theophanic manifestation can come and go? So all that to say, Jake and the Muslim people in his circles are trying to figure out ways to pit Orthodox against one another. And I think the answer is that, first of all, Jake has the exact same problem in Islam, because if Allah is nothing like the created order, then what is the eternal Quran, and how is there a reflection between the eternal Quran and the created Quran? So he doesn't escape the problem by saying it's a problem for you guys to have the uncreated somehow communicating or revealing in time and space. Is the exact same problem. So whether it's the eternal Quran and the created Quran, or whether it's Theophanies, and by the way, the Quran is so stupid that it actually left in some of the places where there's Theophanies, right? Because it copies and pastes from the Old Testament. Anyway, long story short, you can watch, or you can read, you can watch those podcasts that cover that. So that was a long answer that I think was indirectly relevant. Canine, what's up, man? K9, what's up, dude? If you want a short kind of academic style, Jewish Trinity, refuting Unitarian presuppositions. Back and forth. And there's other ways that we know too, like, I mean, specifically certain theophanies, like in Judges 6, when God appears to Gideon, the text says Yahweh turned his face to Gideon. So first of all, we know it can't be a created manifestation because it's called Yahweh. You can't worship a created thing. So in some way, God is able to appear. And I guess I could just say, like Luke says, or like Gabriel says, is there anything impossible for God? Like, why can't, if God created the world, why can't he do this? And I was thinking about the other issues too that people bring up, like, and this is just a speculation, but we've all had dreams, right? Where in our dream, we perceive solidity, right? You pick up an object, right? Well, in your dream, the object seems solid, but there was no actual solid object, right? So if we can perceive solidity in a dream, even though there was nothing actually solid, then it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility to me for a theophany in a vision, in a dream, or in a real manifestation to have perhaps solidity. In the same way that the objects in my dream don't actually have solidity. So how that happens, I don't know. And, are some of the Old Testament, it seems like in the case of Isaiah, right? What does he say? Did he say he had a vision or a dream? Sometimes there's a dream, and sometimes there's a vision, and sometimes it's in time and space, right? So it seems like God kind of does whatever he wants, but we do get these different settings for theophanic manifestations. So perhaps, let's say for the case of Isaiah or Ezekiel or something, like if they're having a dream, if that's what's meant by vision, because sometimes it just says vision, and I don't know if that's a dream or if that's like a waking vision, or who knows. Or perhaps in the case of like when Elijah has his eyes open to see, or is it Elisha? Elisha has his eyes open to see the host of the Lord. That seems to be in time and space and not a vision, right? Outside of time and space. So let's see what Isaiah says. He says, I was in the year King Uzziah died. I saw the Lord sitting on a throne. Okay, so it doesn't even say a dream. It just says he saw it. And of course, for those that don't know, according to tradition, this is what got Isaiah martyred, right? He was supposedly sawn in two by the Jews for saying that he saw God. So notice that even then the Jews were out of accord with their own prophets, because their own prophets said, I saw God. I saw the face of God. I saw the glory of God. I saw the form of God. So God has a face, he has a form, he has a glory. All those things are said all throughout the Old Testament. And guess what? Lo and behold, when the New Testament comes about, when Jesus comes on the scene, he says, I was the face. I was the glory. I was the one that was appearing. So no one sees the Father at any time, right? Jesus says that very clearly. So who was being seen in all of these passages? Well, according to, if you read John 5-9, Jesus makes it clear that it was him. He was the one eating with Abraham. He was the one, on the mountain eating with Moses and the elders. Right? Remember, they go up on the mountain and they eat with God. And Moses looks up and he sees the jeweled floor above him, and they have a meal with God. He sees one like the Son of Man up there, standing up there. Well, to stand there, you got to have some form. Now, whether that was out of time and space in the sense of like a vision, or whether, Jesus like manifested cutting through time and space. We don't know, because a lot of the texts don't explicitly say the means of how it happened. It just says it happened, right? So we can speculate all day long about the means of how God does it and how exactly the metaphysics are. We don't know. I don't think we're ever going to know in this life anyway. So, I mean, if you read the book of Job, it's like God says, you don't even understand how, providence works in nature. How are you going to understand, good and evil at some cosmic sense? Well, how are you going to understand a theophany? I mean, I don't know. But I do think the texts say that. And I'm not just trying to be like a Protestant, like, the text says what it means and it means what it says. Because I also think if you look over at Orthodox Shahada's, Kai just put up a good new article here at the Orthodox Shahada Substack. And he lists from the Palamite synods and the tomos, the tomoi, he's got two different art. This is a newer, I haven't seen this new one here. So here is Theophanies are uncreated, and he's got a bunch of citations here. So this will help you from the Orthodox perspective. And then here is a newer post he did called The Theophanies Are Not Perceived as Created Effects. So there's another one he did there. So, and Palamas says explicitly that they can see the uncreated light even with their eyes at times, but the seeing is not a natural power. So that's very important. So there is a distinction in Orthodox theology between nature and grace. We don't think that they're antithetical like some traditions have said, like Calvinists, that they're sort of in tension, or even at times I would argue Roman Catholics kind of think that nature and grace are sort of in tension. But for us, they are actually, as St. Maximus says, grace is natural to man, which is something that a Roman Catholic could never say. So check out Kai's citations here, which I think are helpful for this, navigating the sort of the limitations and the positions that we have in our dogmas when we approach the theophanies and the energetic manifestations. Also, another argument that I thought of too that plays into this is the Moscow Icon Synod, which, you could argue it's not, quote, dogmatic, but it does express the tradition, generally speaking, about how we understand the iconographic representations of things like the dove or the cloud or the tongues of fire. And, remember, our icons teach the theology, right? So you're never going to have a principle in iconography that's contrary to the rest of the Christology or the rest of the Trinitarian theology, right? And the Moscow Icon Synod argues that the theophanic manifestations, like the tongues of fire, that they're energetic manifestations proper to the Holy Spirit. And if that's the case, they're not creatures. So there's no created dove, there's no created fire, there's no created cloud, there's no created face of Yahweh that he's wearing to cover his actual face. I'm talking about the Old Testament theophanies. Now, when we get the incarnation, as the the tradition says, this is a new thing in the world. And so there are new principles that are introduced when we get the Son of God taking on human nature in the hypostatic union. But even still, if you go to Matthew 17 and you look at the theology of the uncreated light, it's the same principle as the theophanies, right? It's an uncreated manifestation of God's uncreated light and fire. And sometimes the saints speak of God's fire is his light, right? Because even though the energies are manifold, they're also one. And fire and light and God, obviously, it's referring to the same immortal glory and presence, even though they're also different realities according to the Palamite synods. Anyway, we got way off into this, but if you want a short presentation where I did include in this debate opening statement to Hakikachu, here is a bunch of theophanies that I tried to get very quickly in one giant whiteboard post. So there's a giant whiteboard. Anyway, I won't ramble forever. Kanon, are you there?
Yeah, Jay, how are you, man?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you for leading me to the Eastern Orthodox Church, man. It's been a really good journey so far. I'm pretty much 2 to 3 months in. Just became a catechumen, so wanted to thank you for that first of all. And I wanted to ask you if you saw Redeemed Zoomer's new video on Eastern Orthodoxy yesterday.
I can't keep up with everything. I mean, I responded to his response to me, but I didn't know he has a new video.
Yeah, he has. It says 10 reasons why I can't be Eastern Orthodox, and he's just going in on Eastern Orthodoxy. I figured you'd find that pretty entertaining.
I mean, is it worth a response, or is it just kind of the same sort of low tier things?
I'll leave that up to you to decide that. I mean, I think it's around like 25 minutes long or something like that. It's not really too long, but I figured I'd.
All right, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, man, it's like, and I'm not faulting you guys because we're talking about the theology. I know that's what everybody wants to talk about, but like, you know, if we do a geopolitics stream, it's like it always just immediately goes to theology, which I guess that's just the way it is. So I did want to play a little bit of this because this was an interesting development. I'm not sure what to make of this, but Melania today, as we move up into today's drama, came out and said that she thinks that the Epstein stuff should be continually investigated and released. Let's see her quote here.
All prominent male executives resign from their powerful positions after this matter became widely.
Hey, that was my argument. If the Epstein files are nothing, then why are all these people resigning?
Politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
Somebody said it's page 838. Why does this not let me go to the... Oh, you have to borrow this book? Oh my gosh. Are you serious? So I can't even search inside the entirety of this book. This is ridiculous. Can you not download this? Oh, maybe this is still in copyright. Let's see if we can do Google Books. No. Okay, well, I appreciate you pointing out that it's page 838. Maybe we can see if somebody has a PDF. Let's see. No, so this is still copyrighted. I guess you can't get this one, right? Anyway, they said 838. Now, on the topic of sexpionage, we did get into this a little bit over here with our buddies, fellow orthos over here on the reversion. And this is Anthony Westgate and some others who used to be active in the Discord. And then he kind of created his own channel focusing on a lot of geopolitical, historical, esoteric content. And Anthony and I did a podcast yesterday on Paul Williams's Gladio book, because this is sort of resurfaced with the Masonic hit squad in France. And that story from last week, which included a former French intelligence operative and some Masonic, high-level Masonic figures allegedly involved in assassinations and organized crime. And this was, I think, 22 people are going to court over this. And of course, this brings to mind Gladio, obviously, right? Because you have a sort of a stay behind terror unit that does match up to a lot of what you read in Gladio. Now, I don't know if the terror cell or the his squad in France is directly connected to Gladio, but it does kind of have the same model and pattern and characteristics of what we read about in Gladio. So we refreshed ourselves on a lot of that, and Anthony did quite a bit of research into Epstein's esoteric interests. And so he had actually read a little bit more on that than I had. We had a really good conversation. So check out this podcast here that I put up on X if you want to go a little bit deeper into that. And that also is sort of reflective of the conversation that me and, quite frankly, and Tim Gordon had over here.
We have JPT.
And this was a good conversation. I put this up on my channel here. We got into the story, we got into the Masonic story, we got into how that connects to intelligence through the French security establishment, because really it could go either way. You could have a situation where you have what's called false flag recruitment, which is where somebody's recruited into something under the auspices of working for someone else, right? So perhaps a Mossad person appears as a Al-Qaeda operative, and he recruits people into it, and he tells them, but I'm actually working for the CIA. So we're going to work for the CIA, and we're going to bust up these Al-Qaeda people, but they're actually working for Mossad the entire time. This is known as false flag recruitment, and it does occur. I don't know if that's what's happening in the case of the Masonic hit squad, but it's definitely possible, because it does include a high-level French intelligence operative person, according to mainline news. But it's also possible that this wasn't a false flag recruitment, because the people running this hit squad were actually telling the people that they recruited to do the dirty work, hey, psst, you're secretly working for the French government and French Secret Service, which they could have been. And then this would then allow for a layer of plausible deniability. And I've read extensively on that, and that's something that intelligence agencies do have a tendency to do. You contract out or you farm out the dirty work to organized crime, to the mafia, or to random dumbos, and then they take the blame, right? And we talked about this with Sammy the Bull, and Sammy the Bull said, "Yeah, of course we do that. Of course that occurs." There's a layer of removal, right, for plausible deniability purposes. So that story was interesting because not just Gladio, but it's unclear exactly what was going on. And the weirdest part of the whole story was that they were telling the people that were recruited, you have to come help us root out the Mossad in France. Well, I don't know about all that, but I can tell you that there is a movie we got into this with Patrick Henningsen, by the way. There's an old like satire, which is weird because it's a satire, but sometimes they can get away with more than satire. This movie called The Assassination Bureau, and it has the woman from the Avengers. She was like a babe in Britain in the 1960s. I forget her name, but she's in this movie with Diana Rigg and Oliver Reed, right? And this is about an international society, secret society that's hit squads. So we're talking like John Wick level stuff, right? It's a goofy satire movie. However, according to some theorists, the movie is actually based on real international secret society hit squads. And I believe this was a book that was made into a movie. And we're going to get a little tinfoil hatty here, a little conspiratorial, because Freddie Ponton, who is actually an interesting, pretty insightful geopolitical analyst who writes for 21st Century Wire, he wrote, I forgot this until somebody brought this up to me. And I have to talk about this because it relates to Candace and all the stuff that we're talking about. So I want to be very clear what I'm saying and where I think Candace is going crazy on this. Because, do you remember the Egyptian plains? Well, guess where Candace got her Egyptian planes theory? From here. Because do you guys remember that she shared 21st Century Wire on the Egyptian planes fiasco? So she or her team, I'm trying to find the article here, had read the article that Ponton wrote. Maybe I should search Twitter instead. Let's see. Candace. No, I'm never going to be able to find that. Wait, here it is. Oh, here's Patrick talking about it. This is it. Okay, so Candace shared Freddie Ponton's article on like hit squads, right? And these international hit squads. And people don't overlook French intelligence and their operations and their black ops. And yes, there are, French Foreign Legion that do things. However, because that exists, that doesn't back up Candace's theory. So we have to be very careful here, right? Because I was never denying that there are hit squads or that there are teams or that there are these groups. I literally just covered this last week with the Masonic hit squad in France. And of course, what did Candace do? Oh, well, that proves Candace. No, it doesn't. Candace typically pulls from real conspiracies and then says, see, that's what's happening to me. That is a non sequitur. Because there are international hit squads, and because there are French Legionnaire and French Foreign Legion former members that are now in hit squads, that does not follow that they're attacking Candace or following Charlie Cork. However, there is an interesting connection between France and Israel that many people do not know about. And this is you have to read a lot to come across this type of topic. And you only see it kind of referenced here and there because it's kind of a down low relationship. My suspicion is that relationship goes back to the erection of the Paribas system, which is the Rothschilds banking system. And if you remember in Quigley, there's an entire section on the Paribas system. And the Rothschilds initially got their footing in France, not in England, right? So they really took over the French banking structure or had a huge role in it before you had Rothschild influence, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong about this, but I think this is what I remember reading. And I'll show you what I'm talking about with Paribas. It might not come up on Google. Yeah, this pulls up newer stuff. I'm talking about in the late 1800s. Well, here it says, Paribas at their own website says, we have a long history back to the 1800s. Anyway, the Paribas system is the Rothschild system. That's not necessarily the same thing as B&P Paribas. That might be a new instantiation of it. Let's see if this is it. See the history of it. No, this is a newer rebranding. Anyway, it's the name for the Rothschild banking system in France. So to make this long story short, Candace or her team read this where Freddie Ponton goes into the French Secret Services, the DGSE, and their special forces, having a deep connection to Macron and to that establishment. And Macron, if you guys remember, is formerly aligned and has close connections to the Rothschilds. In fact, people have argued that he's really just kind of a Rothschild puppet. So it's not antithetical to the idea. In other words, Candace's idea that there is a hit squad that Macron and the Rothschild Paribas elites might have, that is, I'm sure that exists. Perhaps we saw an inkling of that with the recent Masonic hit squad case from last week. However, none of that proves anything to do with Charlie Cork. Could there be a connection? There could be. But the problem is that we don't have the proof or the evidence of that. So it's like It's like, it would be like me saying, you know, and she did the same thing with the Mitch Snow thing, right? It's like, we point out how Mitch Snow's not credible, and then she shows some pieces of evidence that he was at a military base. Okay, but that was never in dispute. The question was he credible? Not did he go to a military base? You see. So the fact that there are French Legionnaire Black Ops hit squads, that doesn't prove that that's what happened to Charlie Kirk. So you see, it's like leaps, just like when she said, oh, the CIA studies mind control and they have an interest in esoteric subjects, and look at the gateway process. So that's what happened with Charlie Kirk. Okay, but because there's a paper that's declassified called the gateway process, which is about biofeedback and meditation and remote viewing, which we covered with Cotel 3 years ago, it doesn't prove that that was the reason that the CIA was worried about Charlie Kirk and there had to be some sort of twin flame time matrix love story to fix the broken quantum verse. I mean, it's retarded. So, as with most disinformation, and I don't, whether Candace does it intentionally or whether she just repeats whatever she thinks is a cool X-Files episode, I don't know. Don't know her motives. But I can tell you that most disinformation does this very thing where you have great leaps to non sequiturs based on circumstantial evidence, right? And I think, I'm not a legal person. I'm not a legal expert by far. But Alex, I don't want, you may not want to speak on this. I think a lawyer could say something like, yeah, there might be various pieces of evidence for this or that thing, but it's circumstantial until there's something that sort of exemplifies or demonstrates a direct relationship, if that makes sense. I mean, like saying that there's hit squads and saying that they exist out of France, and that because of, you know, French colonies, there's a connection with France and Egypt or Algeria, or like, none of that proves that there's a hit squad after Charlie Kirk out of France, or that Macron is sending a hit squad again after Candace because of talking about Bridget's pee-pee or whatever. I mean, it's just like crazy leaps from circumstantial pieces of real evidence. Alex, from a legal perspective, could you comment on any of that if you'd like to?
Yeah, I'm not like a huge politics expert or anything, but you're absolutely right that when you're presenting your case on something like that, you need something more than just the fact that they're there. You need some connective tissue.
Right.
Basically, something connecting the two, some causal connection. But you're spot on right with that.
How would would a judge just sort of dismiss it as like a circumstantial evidence that's just sort of a leap?
It might be strong enough to get past like the very earliest proceedings of litigation, but even midway through, you would have to show something more than that. I don't think that would make it through. Like it wouldn't even get close to trial. It would just be like midway motions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a really long article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think that probably, and I've listened to a lot of Freddie's interviews. I'm sure he's more on the left, so I don't agree with everything he says. But probably the arguments Freddie's making in the article, I would say probably are accurate, right? Because he's getting into a lot of deep geopolitical stuff about French security services, and this is an area nobody knows about. Like literally nobody knows about French intelligence, right? It's a very niche, secretive sort of topic. But I do recall when the Scriptball event happened, there was a YouTube video that I've never been able to find again. And a man who claimed to be from the French intelligence services as a kind of whistleblower, and you could take this with a grain of salt, he did put up some videos alleging that he knew that there were French hit squads. And he said that they are more likely responsible for poisonings that could have occurred rather than it being the FSB or Putin. Now, could Putin poison people and have them assassinated? Yes, I'm sure most heads of states in terms of major powers could conceivably have someone assassinated. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But he was arguing that the tendency for poisonings was something that French teams had a specific proclivity and proficiency in doing. And I think that was in contrast to what they were alleging about the Skripal event. And the reason I'm bringing up Skripal is because that was a huge part of the narrative of Russia collusion, right? And that all fell apart. Thus, if the P-Gate and the Russia collusion stuff fell apart, guess what? Probably the Skripal story, which was part of that narrative, is probably also not true. But anyway, maybe we should do an analysis of the Assassination Bureau because, or maybe we should just read the book. We'll have to see. So we got into Masonic hit squads and all that here. So there's kernels of truth in a lot of these things, even though they're sort of being lifted and used, I think, to Candace's own purposes. But unfortunately, that's what happens with disinformation, is that you got to sprinkle some truth in there to make it plausible. And nobody reads books and nobody even reads articles anymore. So I think they could just rest assured that nobody's actually going to read and ferret through all this information. I do have a few super chats, and then we'll open it up to the next caller here. And then I wanted to play Alex sort of responding to Trump going off on. Maybe we should read the weird Truth Social post. And I think most people think that Mark Levin might have even typed this for Trump. Like Trump just posted Mark Levin's rant. Let's see, where is it at? I wanted to talk a little bit about Dan Bongino, because you're really seeing like the shills come out in full force in regard to, you don't even question Trump on this, right? So you've got like MAGA shills like Laura Loomer and but they're really just Israeli operatives. Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Dan Bongino. I'm not saying he's a quote Israeli operative, but I think he's full of it, because he's out here alleging that Alex Jones asked people that come on to lie. I've been doing the fourth hour for 6 years. I've hosted many full episode shows of Alex Jones. I've been in studio with full episodes of Alex. I don't ever recall Alex ever saying, you can't talk about this or don't talk about this. Alex really does promote the free speech attitude that he has. Now, I don't agree with Alex on every single point, but he's never said you can't talk about this. So the entire internet and all the left is really championing and going off on this division here within MAGA, that Alex has now finally parted ways. I mean, I think Alex, I'm way more critical of Trump than Alex has been, but he to be fair, he has been critical. And, he did say that he thought that Trump made a huge blunder with suppressing Epstein files being released, but also that he didn't think that Trump himself had done anything. And we don't know that there's any evidence of that. I don't know if there's evidence of that, but it's interesting that today, perhaps in response, Alex did say he thought that maybe Trump actually is blackmailed. Now, Trump's response was, I know why Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex have been fighting me for years. In fact, especially they think that it's wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror. By the way, this literally reads just like Jonathan Pollard and Mark Levin's like phraseology. It's almost like this is like a Israeli press memo or something. This is exactly how they word it. They have a nuclear weapon. They have one thing in common. All of these, he's saying that all these media people, they have low IQs. Now, remember, Trump also said that if you want more Epstein file prosecution and release, you're low IQ and you're not MAGA. And yet we just had his wife today come out and say she would like that to be So I guess Melania isn't MAGA and Melania is low IQ, according to Trump. But he says, these are stupid people. They know it. If their families know it and everyone else knows it too, look at their past, look at their record. Well, now wait a minute, Trump, because if Tucker and Megyn Kelly and Candace and Alex are all stupid, why were you champions of them for all of these years? Did you not know their past, and did you not know their record? So this is actually kind of an own on Trump here. If he's admitting that their past demonstrates their stupidity and their bad motives when he's been aligned with and promoting these people for many years. So that would mean that he's just sort of himself stupid. He says that they don't have what it takes. They never did. They've been thrown off television, lost shows. They're not even invited on TV because who cares about them? TV? Trump. When Elon Musk goes on a podcast with somebody on X, it gets 1 billion views. No one cares about TV. Okay, we're not boomers anymore. So he's referring to Tucker losing the Fox show, but Tucker lost the Fox show because he wanted to interview Trump and be a journalist, and also because he wanted to talk about a bunch of things that Fox News didn't want talked about. So really has nothing to do with IQ. So that's not true. These are all nut jobs. Well, I would say Candace is a nut job. So I don't think that the other ones are nut jobs. I am a little concerned that, I don't know about Megyn Kelly. Last I heard, she still promotes TRA and Z stuff. And people have been calling her out about whether she still promotes that for kids and whatnot. So, but I really think that this is just the collating of anyone critical of Israel. So he only chose the people critical of Israel and the people that were then calling out Trump for seemingly doing a U-turn on a lot of the policies and things that he campaigned on. He says they're third-rate podcasters, but Tucker or, even Candace, who I'm not a fan of, they get way more views than these boomer TV shows, right? Boomer TV shows have a couple million in their audience usually. Maybe a little more, I'm not sure. But it's like, come on, dude, this is not the 80s, Trump. Like, and in a couple of years, the boomers won't even be here anymore. They're not going to be watching MSNBC and Fox. So this is very boomer coded for sure. They're troublemakers. They will say anything for some free, cheap publicity. Well, like Alex said today, like Alex doesn't need publicity because he had the top show on the internet, period, during the period of Trump's first administration. So he doesn't need publicity. Alex has always stuck to his guns, right? At least in my experience from knowing him for a long time. But for the most part, their views are the opposite of MAGA. Well, the funny part about this is all the people that are now supposedly MAGA were all the people who were never Trumpers, right? Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, whoever else amongst this crew of the goblins, they were all never Trumpers. But now somehow they are MAGA. Now, again, I don't really care about MAGA. I've basically checked out of normie boomer politics after Ron Paul, so I don't care about politics really. I do care about the issues, and I will observe politics in a kind of a third person detached way. So what Trump campaigned upon, I agreed with, but other things that he did and positions he had, I disagreed with. So I'm an issues person. I'm not a team person, like I'm a teenager or some bullshit like that. But he goes on to say that they're fools. Tucker couldn't finish college. He's a broken man because he got fired from Fox. He's never been the same. He should go to a psychiatrist. Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the Rosie O'Donnell question. Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man. Highly respected. These people are goblins, dude. What are you talking about? Brigitte Macron is not highly respected. And aren't they all freaking disgusting socialists? Like what? I mean, these are like the leftist Rothschild operatives that have held France in a stranglehold forever, and they always subvert any right winger getting elected in France. What's the and even the right wingers are not even that right wing. What's that woman's Le Pen's, or they're not even that right wing. But even then, even those people are too right wing for socialist France. And also, I mean, under Macron, France has been destroyed. France is essentially Muslim now. So how are these French leaders highly esteemed when they're basically destroying Europe? And then he says, hopefully she will win the lawsuit against Candace. The First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. What? That's bizarre. Okay, now, I mean, I'm not being racist here, but I'm just not into black girls. Just saying, not being racist. I've just never thought that there was, I mean, there was a couple hot black chicks in the 90s. I'll give you that. There was like a Vanessa Williams here and there, and there was a Halle Berry there and here and there. There's a Halle Berry out there. I don't really think Beyonce is that hot, but I mean, come on, dude. What in the world? I mean, Brigitte Macron is a beautiful lady. Oof. Now, I don't have the man position. I don't know about this being a man. And it's interesting, as John Adams pointed out, this is also not a new conspiracy theory. In fact, back when we were doing conspiracy podcasts 10 years ago, there was a guy who would call into their podcast and would discuss a book that had been written in France at that time, that she was a man. So this is actually like a 10, 15-year-old French conspiracy theory that somehow or other Candace picked up. It would be interesting to know who is feeding Candace the conspiracies, because it seems like there's a person that researches perhaps, and then she bases half of the theory of the next show on whatever she was watching the previous night on Netflix. So you can tell, it's like you can tell she watched Inception or The Matrix, and then because she'll tie that into like whatever crazy stuff her handlers or her staff have given her, right? Like that whole Charlie time traveler stuff. But I mean, I cannot agree that, I mean, let's say that this is a woman. Okay. She looks like a washed up Vegas stripper, dude. We just got back from Vegas, and you will see in Vegas, we were there for like a week, and I've been there like 5 times in the last 5 years. You will see many just sort of beat up, washed out old stripper girls walking around, and stripper moms. And that's exactly what Brigitte Macron looks like. Now, I have to say though, even though I'm not into, listen, as a BIPOC man, I like white girls. What can I say? You know, I'm like every other BIPOC man. I like white girls. So, and by the way, back in the 90s, the black dudes always liked fat white girls. Because when I was in high school, if there was a white girl dating a black dude, you knew she was fat, dude. Because that's the only chicks. And the black dudes usually like big old fat girls. But I'm sorry, but I mean, Candace looks better than Brigitte Macron. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty good picture of Candace right there. She's pretty there. So Trump, I'm gonna have to disagree. Brigitte Macron is not a beautiful lady. She's not prettier than Candace Owens. Oh wow. No wonder Alex was so mad today, because I didn't actually see the rest of this. Bankrupt Alex Jones says some of the dumbest things, lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the SH victims. Alex didn't attack the people. That's false. So you could disagree with his take or whatever, but he didn't attack the people. That's not what happened. The pundits are losers. They always will be. Fake news CNN, failing New York Times, all the left are now hailing them. Well, they're just doing that in an opportunistic way because they're criticizing you on these bad moves of the last 8 months to a year. They are not, quote, MAGA. They are losers. They are trying to latch on to MAGA. But, I mean, I like what Massey said. Let's do America first, not MAGA, right? I mean, Alex was America first before anyone else, right? He was America first before. I mean, Alex is who influenced Tucker to have a complete paradigm shift, admittedly. Alex was here saying all the things he's still saying back in 1999 for the most part. I mean, I've been listening to Alex since 2003. So this is just kind of a bizarre framing from Trump here. This is weird. Marjorie Trader Brown. He says, I don't return their calls. I'm too busy with world affairs. According to Alex, Alex was not returning Trump's calls. So I only care about the country. MAGA is about winning. I mean, this is going to play really well with boomers. I mean, this is just like it's like a boomer wrote this with the freaking half of the text being all capital. Totally, like the only people who still type in text are boomers, right? Because they're like, I'm going to yell in text. And if I do it in caps, I'm yelling, and that'll let them know I mean business, son. Simulacra, what's up, man? Simulacra, what's up?
Hey, Jay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi. So first, I wanted to thank you for sort of exposing me to Orthodoxy. I'm very interested in becoming a catechumen, so I'd like to thank you for that. So I was reading Renee Ganon's book on theosophy, and I just noticed a lot of
We lost you, dude. You want to try to come back? You were reading Renee Ganon on theosophy, and you noticed what? He fell off. Well, try to come back if you want to. Goddess, what's up? I thought there was another shorter clip I'm trying to find here. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about, have you done any research into the Pirates of Caribbean movies or the Dutch trading company?
Yes, I've done. We did a whole podcast on Dutch East India Company and the British East India Company and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I think it relates to France and all the how they establish all the banks. And if you say there's good pirates in the movie, then there in real life might be bad ones, and probably used as assets.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, I know that we discuss the way the film presents the British East India Company, and then I think we mentioned the Dutch East India Company by extension as well. And I'm familiar with the history of the British Empire really kind of being a corporation under the British East India Company, and eventually the Queen took that over. So it's here, but I don't know that we don't go into like super historical depth because we're just trying to have fun with the movie. But yes, we do cover that, but I don't think I have any connections to France, but I'm sure there is. Do you know about that?
Well, you just mentioned it. I thought the Netherlands, I think a lot of banks, and it was established around there. Because I think, goes into Europe and deeper into Europe and Russia and so forth. But yeah, I think it's just an interesting time period, because before you really have movement, it's this, and piracy is active, and everybody's trading. So I think it's a good starting point to kind of understand what happened later.
Yeah, it's a great point. And we probably should get deeper into that. I feel like a lot of the historical depth that I would like to do. It kind of gets overlooked because we lose so many people in the audience when I start to cover actual issues. Everybody just like I'll go from 2,000 down to 800 if I start talking about real issues. But Griefer, what's up? Guys, if you would hit like and share, you can of course subscribe to the channel, and you can support the channel through super chats, through Streamlabs, or natively through YouTube. Welcome everybody. We have a nice, cozy, intimate crowd here, about 1,400. You want to unmute Griefer?
Hey, what's up, Jay? Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Can I share 3 movie recommendations with you quickly?
Mm-hmm.
You probably already seen them all because I know you've seen all the interesting ones. But the first one's called The Ghoul. These all have occult themes, by the way. The first one's called The Ghoul. It's a UK movie from 2016. It's this mental patient guy who's like his psychologist or psychiatrist,
Steam pirate.
and his wife are trying to
Talking to this thing. Hold on. Don't talk at me. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look up the trailer, and then the video started playing. The Ghoul, 2016.
2016.
No, I've not heard of this. Mental patient and what? Say again.
Like his psychiatrist he's like involved in the occult somehow, and he's sort of trying to like install himself into the patient's mind to like live forever or something like that.
Ah, interesting. I watched a movie some years ago about a Roman Catholic priest. It was an independent movie. I've never been able to find it again, but it was an independent film about a Roman Catholic priest who was into Satanism and esoteric stuff. And he was trying to do the same thing, reincarnate through a ritual in some other guy. So if anybody knows what that movie is, let me know, because I wanted to review that for a while, but I can't remember what it was. Go ahead.
Another one is Kill List from 2011.
Yes, that my Clips channel just put up a video about Kill List, so we have covered it.
Yeah, that one's more disturbing.
It is very disturbing. It's hard to watch. It's a little rough. If you've not seen Kill List, it's right here. Here's my analysis, you guys. Go
it's brutal.
Awesome.
What's the next one?
Last one is The Empty Man from 2020.
Yes, I covered that one as well. Did a whole podcast on that. I like Empty Man. Huh?
Is that on your YouTube somewhere?
Yep. If you look up Tibetan Book of the Dead, Timothy Leary, and Empty Man, it's right here.
That's awesome. I'm gonna check it out later. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah, good recommendations. Appreciate that. Always like good movie recommendations, and I had not seen the first one. Actually, we covered Empty Man twice. I did it with my buddies over at Psyop Cinema right here, and then I did it separately, comparing it to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Timothy Leary's version of it, right there. So those are 2 classic movie pods. If you guys want a deep dive into that, Graham, what's up? Graham, you want to unmute?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to say, big fan of yours. Been following you for like 5 or 6 years now.
Thank you.
And as going back to how you said you didn't want to really get into theology tonight, really support Tucker. I think he's been one of the great standouts of like a moral high ground people we can listen to in what's happening right now. But what I wanted to ask you about is how, if you're a Christian or a Catholic, how does that really coincide with support of governments? And how can you really even subside or support governments in the modern day if you truly are a Christian or a Catholic?
I mean, the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church both teach that the state is providentially ordained by God. So it would actually be contrary to Christianity. I mean, Paul says this in Romans 13 that the state has the authority of the sword. And when Paul wrote that, he was writing about a pagan, Roman emperor. So I mean, it's pretty basic Christian teaching that the state is ordained of God. We're not anarchists, and you can't be a Christian and be an anarchist. It's a heretical position.
Then how can you? what do you do then if you're under the sword of a state that is antithetical to what you believe in?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first 100 years of Christianity is Christians being under the sword of the Roman Empire, and they were martyred. So we believe that there ought to be.
Didn't they fight it?
No, we don't take up arms against the state. We're not political revolutionaries, but we convert the government to be a Christian government. That's what happened within the first 4 centuries of Christianity.
Okay. And then just finally to follow up is well, if the state, if there's a state that you are under the sword and threat of and oppressive of, that is using claims of fighting just wars under God's name to justify their wars, which is clearly what Trump and this administration is doing in the Middle East, is using the name of Christianity and God to justify their wars.
Yeah, and I've done about 50 podcasts against that, exposing it and critiquing it ad nauseum. Are you new to the? I'm not fussing at you, but like, are you new to this audience?
No, like I said, I don't follow every single podcast or everything that you do. Like I said, I've been following your work for like 5 or 6 years now.
Well, I mean, in the last year, I've probably done 50 podcasts addressing this issue. So,
okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but like, you're not aware of like the Christian doctrine of the state.
Well, I've talked to many Christians and Catholics, and they all have like a little different view of it, and it looks like from my personal experience, because I work with a company that is majority owned by Christians and Catholics, or Christians majoritively, and they're just like all in on it, and they support Israel, and they're brainwashed and indoctrinated, and they're just hurrah, this is God's will kind of thing.
Well, that just means that you have stupid friends. It doesn't mean that.
No, I know they're not my friends. They're just Christians that I have to work with that own corporations and stuff. They're not my friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, what does that have to do with what the teachings of those religious bodies is?
Well, so maybe what I'm asking is what do you think the best way for me to breach that subject with these people when I consider myself a God-loving Christian believer, but I'm completely against what our government and what's happening in the world is, but they're brainwashed into believing the propaganda and the agenda of the state and the regime. How do you think I should breach that subject with them?
I'm sensitive to what you're saying, but I mean, and I agree with the point itself that it's not a just war, etc. But the answer to that is not Christian anarchy or any of that. So, I mean, we don't recognize Christianity outside of Orthodoxy. So if you're not Orthodox Christian, you're some heterodox version of something you've made up. So I would say you need to be Orthodox before trying to.
I would also agree that I don't think that if they believe this that they are Christians themselves. They're truly not in the heart and the core of it.
Well, how okay, I mean, maybe, but like, how do you know that from a political position?
Because they're supporting things that are against the Testament and against the teachings of the Bible and against the teachings of Christ.
Yeah, but I mean, you can be errant. I mean, what if you're teaching something against the New Testament? I mean, I would say that you are. So like, by that standard, it's a will be measured by the standard that we use ourselves. So
right, like who's to judge who? Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not saying that you can't judge. I'm saying that if you're not in a church and you've made up your own Christianity, you're not in a position to judge the other people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess. The problem that I'm having is that I don't understand a foothold to where even to get a foothold in the door to start having this conversation.
Okay, well, most Orthodox, look, I've not seen any Orthodox Christian bishops supporting the Zionist cause. So I mean, you literally just had the patriarch of Jerusalem the other day saying, or one of the patriarchs in Israel saying that you cannot be a Zionist and be an Orthodox Christian.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
100%
so
agree.
there you go. So if you want, look,
they're
appreciate. Okay, I appreciate your question, but if you want an easy political indicator of the true church based on your measure, then you'd have to be Orthodox. Requiem, what's up? Shout out to Jim Bob. What's up, Jim Bob? Requiem, what's up, dog? Unmute. Requiem, unmute, man.
Yeah, I'm here. Can
What's
you
up?
hear me?
Yep.
Actually, my name is Waquim. That's my BIPOC name.
Okay.
So that's what I go by, Waquim.
Well, play on, Queen. Slay on, Queen.
Is this open debate or no?
Sure.
Well, actually, I don't have a question, but I just want to say I was actually just at Lamentations liturgy today. It was actually very nice. I was there with my wife.
Good.
Did you go there today at all?
No.
I don't know.
3 hours
No?
from church.
All right. I just have one quick thing. I love your debate reviews. I think they're hilarious, and your impressions are hilarious.
Thank you.
Can you do a Lando Calrissian impression if you can?
Hello, what have we here?
Oh my god, dude, it's so funny. All right, that's everything. Thank you.
Chewy, how you doing, yo, pirate? So good to see you. Hello, what have we here? Was that good?
I love it.
Was that good? Was that a good Lando?
That was. Oh, like your Richard Dawkins when you're like hissing and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
so
Well,
funny.
if you super chat me,
Man,
I'll do.
it's so
I'll do.
stupid.
You only get one. You only get one for free. If you super chat me, I'll do another one. Griffith, what's up? That's when he's trying to mac on the white girl, right? When he sees Princess Leia, he goes, "Hello, what have we here?"
Hello, Jay. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Going back to what you were saying earlier, you said you couldn't remember that movie. Was it by chance Prince of Darkness?
No, I know all the John Carpenter movies. This was an independent horror movie, might even be a foreign movie, probably from about 2007 to 2011. And it's a modern. You know, I know I put Prince of Darkness in my third Hollywood book, so I know all about John Carpenter. But no, it was just a weird kind of foreign horror movie that maybe I should check AI, where your guy was.
Was it in English?
I don't remember, but it was like an abandoned church, right? So this Catholic priest or this weird priest was like going into an abandoned church and doing these rituals at night. And he was trying to perfect the ritual so that he could reincarnate in the body of some guy. It's a horror movie, and it was pretty good. I've just never been able to find it since I watched it. Snagglebeast says for $5. Yeah, well, if you could feel free to keep looking if you guys find it. Sounds like Flubber. Yeah, it's Flubber with Robin Williams. I'm joking. Snagglebeast $5. How much of a Nicolas Cage synopsis of Operation Epic Fury does a $5 one get me? Well, Operation Epic Fury was pretty epic, if I do say so myself. That's what you get for $5. How's that? I have to again brag though. Jim Bob is another master impersonator. Shout out to Jim Bob, who does the best Jordan, of course. But I do have to brag that the comments agreed underneath the Kurt Metzger podcast that my Jordan Peterson did top Kyle Dunnigan's Jordan Peterson. So I'm not the best. Jim Bob is the best, but I did top, and I impressed all the comedians with my Trump. Kurt Metzger, Sam Tripoli, Jamie Kennedy, they were all impressed with my Trump. So I think I've gotten my Trump better. Super Goy, what's up, dog? I disagree, Judge. Nick Cage can actually be a great actor. So when you say he's not great, I will actually argue. I will debate you on that one. I mean, he won Academy Award for Leaving Las Vegas. What's up, man? Super Goy. Unmute. Super Goy, unmute, man. All right. Red Pill, what's up? Have a blessed Pascha, Jay. Thank you. Augustus became a member. Phantasm, $2. Thank you. Hush Tones, $20. Tomorrow is my first Pascha as Orthodox. Thank you for everything you've done for the faith. You helped me find the truth. You led my family to the church. All the bros at my church credit you. Hey, that's great, man. Many years. Red Pill, you want to unmute? Red Pill, unmute.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Quick question. What is Orthodox view on missionaries or people who go out to, gain Christian, as far as an Orthodox view on it?
I mean, it's the bishops commission people to be missionaries all the time. We have dozens and dozens of mission, maybe hundreds of mission churches in the U.S. So yes, the Orthodox Church has missionaries and supports it. Ubi Petrus, by the way, has on his channel, I think, 3 little documentaries he's made on the history of Orthodox Christian missionaries and missions. Red Pill, you want to talk again?
Yeah. So, I just want to say, because I come from like an evangelist background, I'm not well studied in the Bible, but I've been learning more, and I like how more logical orthodoxy sounds, and a lot of the arguments you present regarding. So, but is it like, as far as I've never been a part of any liturgy or any semblance or anything like that, can I still call myself a Christian if I have family, or I come from a line of people who are Christians? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate your question, and I mean, you might call yourself that, but of course, for us, it's not a lineal descent or a family tradition. It could be that, but that's not really what it is, essentially speaking. So, for us, authentic Christianity is Orthodox Christianity, but many people may call themselves that or use the appellation Christian. Phantasm sends $10. Thank you so much. Phantasm $5. Thank you so much. Xlopstep $5. What kind of Jacobian magic did you use in your song? Bro's literally levitating. All of my songs are Jacobian magic. Aquanote $5. Happy Friday, Dyer. I appreciate your content. Thank you, Aqua. Appreciate that. Kirk G Ortho Bro $5. You need to review Redeem Zoomer's new video that dropped. It would be amazing content. He's trying to destroy EO. Well, good luck with that. He's not going to destroy anything because he's freaking out because all of his friends and his Discord and all the Protestants they're seeing the bleed because people are becoming Orthodox. So they can scream and cry all they want. Ron Dadon, $5. Pete Hegseth, at the behest of Doug Wilson, banned the Catholic liturgy from the Pentagon. Could Christian nationalism be a catalyst for persecution? I don't think that they could actually do that on a wide scale. But I mean, if they had the power to, they would do that. But I don't think they have the actual power to do that on a wide scale. And I mean, Doug Wilson is just something else. Snaggle Beast, blessed good Holy Friday. Glory to the passion, to your passion, O Lord. Glory to your long suffering, O Lord. Glory to the God that the Holy Sepulchre is open. Craig, $20. Here's some cheats for when Globo Chains causes Waterworld. Oh, that's a throwback movie. Waterworld. Don't they use cigarettes as like currency in Waterworld or something crazy? Mark, what's up? Or no, Dennis Hopper's gang just smokes cigarettes. That's like the mark of their gang. It's so ridiculous. Mark, you want to talk?
Hey, Jay, yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to follow up on something that guy was saying from the evangelical background. He was saying that his family was from a Christian background. They call themselves Christians. I just want to clarify something. And just to preface, right, I come from a Protestant background. I've been listening to you for a while, and you've led me to Orthodoxy, so I consider myself an inquirer now, but
Cool. Cool beans.
Those Christians that consider themselves Christians, like, technically that's true, right? But they just don't have the Holy Spirit because of the laying on of hands. Or is that wrong?
Well, I mean, chrismation is not the summation of having the Holy Spirit. We don't know and we don't judge outside of the church what the Holy Spirit does and doesn't do, but we tell people that they have to come into the church to make sure of their salvation. So, good question though. Simulacra, last question from you. I'm not being a dick. I'm just saying, like, we've had a few from you, and then we'll go to Know It. What's up? Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so sorry about the disconnect earlier. So I was reading this book by Rene Guénon on theosophy.
Yes.
And I noticed it bears a lot of resemblance to, like, the modern ecumenical movement in terms of, like, syncretism
Yes.
and its elite ties and stuff.
Yeah, actually, the origins of modern ecumenism are directly connected to theosophy, Madame Blavatsky, and the Rockefeller support for the ecumenist movement on record.
Wow, I actually didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, they have a chapter bragging about it in their authorized biography.
All right. That was my question. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, and you're spot on to connect theosophy to ecumenism. Absolutely. Cold Quest. My family and I are going to be receiving the Orthodox Catholic Church tomorrow. Thank you for everything. That's great, man. Old Fox, $5. Are the four creatures surrounding the throne the divine council? Well, as far as I understand, I think most of us would say that those are the cherubim. So the living creatures are identified as cherubim. You read that in Ezekiel as well. That's the living creatures there. And so cherubim and seraphim and all of the ranks of the angels, the choir of the angels, principalities, powers, thrones, dominions, etc., they are all part of the heavenly council, as well as the righteous saints. So they all make up that council. Know It Kinesis.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, how you going, man? Yeah, happy to be here and hear from you. I've been watching a lot of your stuff, and I'm not well versed in philosophy, but I do have an interest in it. But I just want to speak on a topic regarding paradoxes, and one of my favorite paradoxes is the Theseus ship. And I thought I was curious as to your view and the philosophical elements that the Theseus ship carries, if you thought about that.
I don't recall. I'm sorry. It's been 20 years since I had an undergrad philosophy, so I don't remember. What is that?
It's the one where it's like you have a ship, and over time that ship is one by one replaced by elements, and over time.
Oh yeah. Is
almost a whole new ship.
Yeah.
And then if you use those old pieces to build that same ship, it's like, which one's the original? And it goes from that, and also the one about like sand, where if you take off one dot of sand, is it still a whole heap of sand? And so on and so forth. Like, as to what point is it no longer sand, like a heap of sand?
Yeah, this is actually part of the way that we count and number things. This comes up with the counting by identity and counting by division. So some of those arguments are used in the, I think, what's his name, Cantor, or the paper that I had to read before the Jake debate that Dr. Bo Branson sent me. So it gets really complex because there's different ways that you can identify or pick out objects. So for example, if you count by identity, you would say, well, the whole collective thing is what picks it out. But if you count by division, then you start to remove in order to count. And thus you have, for example, a pile of sand, and then you remove one, then you've counted by division because now you have two. So it really just depends on which type of identifying and counting you want to do. And so I don't have an easy solution to the paradox, so to speak, because it really depends on what type of identifier we're using to pick things out.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, great question. And also in the, it's funny you said that though, because I remember in that paper, I just forget the author's name, but it's I guess a modern analytical philosophy paper on different ways of counting, and counting by identity versus counting by division. So for, Trinitarian purposes, I think you could say we count both ways, right? Because we're picking out different things. In one sense, when we're counting by division, we're saying that God is one and undivided. But when we're counting the persons, we're counting by identity. And you have to use different means of counting also, as Dr. Branson points out, for different types of things. For example, you can't count by division with abstract objects, or what are called objects of second order imposition. So mundane objects like cows or pigs or something like that, it makes sense to count by identity. But you can't have, for example, half of a law of logic, or half of a, a set of something that's an abstract object. You can't have those or third those. So for certain types of things, you would have to count by identity, and then other types of things you could count by division. If I have a piece of paper and I rip it in two, I'm counting by division because now I have two. And so that's why it relates to the guy's question about the ship. And he uses in that paper, he uses the ship example as to how many ships are there and which one was the original ship. Let's play a little bit of this before we go back to the questions.
And if you try to rub it in, I just, at that point, I don't care anymore. So if you think I've been coming after you, if you think that I'm trying to get clicks by attacking you so the Democrats that don't buy anything from me and don't like me want to put me in jail, if you think I've been on your ass, say one more thing out of your mouth. And Laura Loomer, sending this, okay? One more thing. When I've gone through hell back in your ass because you were the lesser of two evils, then I'm going to show you how to calculate the cabbage. Do one more thing. You should be kissing my ass. But instead, you shit all over me and rub it in. I'm not looking for a fight, but if you want one, you came to the right place. So, I'm like a rattlesnake. They're not really aggressive snakes. Water moccasins come after you and bite you. Cobras come after you. I'm like rattlesnakes trying to get away. I'm like, hey, leave me alone. Hey, please don't step on me. God, that really hurts. I want to focus on the midterms, the Democrats. I want to promote what's good you're doing. And I want to be left alone.
All right, so I was actually looking for the Bongino clip. Let me find that because I wanted to see what he said. This is it. Here it is.
But I've been in this business a long, long time. And I am sorry to tell you this because I wish I didn't have to. A lot of the people you put faith in this business in general, behind the scenes are totally different people. Alex Jones is full of shit. I don't know how, I don't really care. You want to listen to his show?
First of all, I want to just point out that why is it that suddenly all of the Trump shills, the MAGA shills, and by that I mean people who are just like unquestionably cult followers, like all of a sudden they all universally, unanimously go after Candace, Alex, Tucker. I don't really follow or keep up with Megyn Kelly, so I don't really know what her positions are other than that she criticized Israel, and Ben Shapiro. But suddenly they all come out with, it's like clearly there is a coordinated response to try to, I don't, excommunicate people that, were formerly touted by Trump. And then again, if you saw that Truth Social post, Trump says they were always losers and phonies. Well, then why were you promoting them if they were always losers and phonies? So that's like an obvious Trump self-own there. And literally like the most boomer post I've ever seen. Like half of it's screaming caps, like boomers screaming in caps. Like who does that? Well, boomers do. So this is odd because this is all sort of today. So there must be some concern and damage control going on, because why would all of the MAGA operatives in unison suddenly come out, following the Don's lead here to go after these people?
Fine, go right ahead. This guy is a fraud. I will never forget early on in my political career.
Well, you can certainly have criticisms of Alex, and there's areas where I disagree. But for the most part, Alex has had the same assessment and message since I first listened to him in 2003. It hasn't changed a whole lot. I think maybe he's gotten a little better, hopefully. I mean, not that he was bad, just saying like more sophisticated, better, assessment of how the world works. There's still that libertarian side of it that I disagree with. But he's come a long way, at least in terms of less neutrality, I guess you could say, on the Zionist issue, and more of a critical stance. But I mean, beyond that, like, what exactly has Alex done that's, quote, fraudulent? I mean, the whole $1 billion thing, that was a show trial absurdity, right? So that alone should tell you, like, wait a minute, $1 billion? First of all, that was just for the news. There's a limit on how much you can exact from people in certain cases, especially in Texas. So there's not really $1 billion payment. That was just for the news, and that was like leftist judges and whatnot. So, I'm not sure it's just such a crazy thing to say. And furthermore, if Alex was always a loser and a fraud, then it makes Trump look even stupider for being on Alex's show and supporting him and being positive towards him for so long. So it's like, okay. So if Trump has no discernment about Alex Jones and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, whom he seemed to support for so many years, because they're all losers and frauds. It's like, so how are you running the country if you had no discernment about these basic people's characters?
When I was running for office, I got invited on. I did the network InfoWars a couple of times early on. Listen, I was young in the business, whatever. I went on the show figuring might as well talk to people.
Was this guy a jerky boy? He talks like the freaking jerky boys.
Hey, yeah, you know what? This is Frank Rizzo. How you doing there? This is Dan Bongino. Can I get 25 pizzas ordered today?
People, you get your name out there. And it's during like a break before I come on. And I'm just telling you, like, the conversation was so disturbing. Oh, well, I'm just going to like do it anyway because that's what the audience said. I was like, well, it's probably not a good idea. It's not exactly true.
Now, remember, this is the guy who said Epstein had no significant files and information. It's a waste of time. That's this guy. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what I couldn't believe it. The guy's a total fake and a phony. It's not real.
So again, I've hosted Alex Jones for 6 years. I've hosted several episodes, the 4th Hour, etc. I've never been told what I can and can't say. So this is total bullcrap. I don't believe what he's saying at all. And I invited this shill person. I was inviting MAGA Kitty to come debate. Of course, Dan Bongino is not going to come debate. I'm talking about the profile, whoever MAGA Kitty is that's putting this out. And let's see, Alex's response was, "You're a total liar. The American people hate you, Dan Bongino." And Alex totally mogged Bongino here. Alex got 17,000 likes, and Bongino got 8.6 thousand likes. So I think people see through the fact that this dude was like hardcore covering up the Epstein stuff, right? And he's basically they're just mouthpieces for the establishment. And so people said, oh, Alex was mouthpiece for, well, then why did he go against Trump for the last 2 weeks hard? So no, remember, now, quote, MAGA is all of the never Trumper people, which just shows that it's ridiculous, right? Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, that's MAGA now. They were all the people who were anti-Trump. And then this guy says, Alex Jones. I mean, I don't even understand what he's saying. Like, he said there was a break and the guy's a phony. How does there being a break in the show tell you he's a phony? Let's see.
Might as well talk to people. You get your name out there. And it's during like a break before I come on. And I'm just telling you, like, the conversation was so disturbing.
What was the conversation? How was it disturbing?
Oh, well, I'm just going to like do it anyway because that's what the audience said. I was like, well, it's probably not a good idea. It's not exactly true.
What is he even saying? I'm going to do it anyway. He's saying Alex said, I'm going to do it anyway, even though it's not true. What? What's he talking about?
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I couldn't believe
what?
The guy's a total fake and a phony.
But nothing in that story indicates that. It wasn't even a complete story. It was just like, there was a break, and then he said, I'm going to do this, and he's a phony, see? It's like, well, at least give some, like, evidence. Like, did he say, hey, I'm a phony, like, that was a bunch of nothing. And he's mad because everybody's calling him out for covering up Jeff Stein McEffrey stuff. So, Requiem, what's up, dude? Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, I got a quick question. So, like, where can I go to get, like, books that will, like, for the early church fathers, or even, like, early church people like Polycarp or Clement of Antioch? Like, is Amazon legit, or, like, where should I go to, like, find books about those sort of things?
Well, I mean, if you want to read the church fathers themselves, most of those are available at newadvent.org. It's a Catholic website, but it has all the, post-apostolic church father in terms of their letters. And most of those letters are, fairly short. I have, if you want the post-apostolic fathers, I have this one, which is pretty good. It's just called Early Christian Fathers by Cyril Richardson. And if you want an introductory book that is an assessment of those fathers and their ideological trek, I would say you could get Pelikan's book, The Emergence of the Catholic Tradition. So those are good places to start. And those are, standard sort of seminary texts that most seminaries would use, whether you're Orthodox, Catholic, or Protestant. Jacob, what's up? Yakub, what's up?
Hey, you hear me, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I just had a question about this. A little bit of preface. I got off work and I ran into another Orthodox Christian at a Walmart, and he told me about some religious group that he was also associated with. And I didn't know if that was just so non-normative in my Western mind that I immediately associated with like Colthood. And I wanted to see if you knew anything about this. It was called like a Nazareth Home Apostolate or something. And it's like, they say it's like a chimera of like Celtic Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy.
Yeah, I would say stay away from it. Yeah, it's hard to tell what you're saying, but it sounds like a non-canonical, made-up church. I would stay away from it. I've never heard of it. Harvey, what's up?
Hello.
Yo.
Hey, I just recently started going to Eastern Orthodox Church. I'm out here in Utah. I was raised LDS. I was curious about the fasting for Orthodoxy, and because in Mormons they don't, they just don't eat, but the Orthodox do the basically vegan fasting. I have no idea what that's all about.
Mormons don't eat. What do you mean? By the way, Orthodox is not vegan. There's several things we eat. There's several things we eat that are not vegan.
They fast on the first of the month. They don't eat. You're supposed to skip 2 meals.
Okay. And the question is what? What's the question exactly? I can't hear you, man. But if you listen, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Yeah, I would say if you want to ask about the fasting rules and all that, what's right for you, ask the priest where you're at. I don't give out fasting and spiritual advice on my channel, but Eric says, if a missionary reaches a remote tribe someday, they accept Christ, some of them, then missionary dies, are the converts saved? Well, yeah, we do believe in things like baptism of desire. And so, no, I don't think God's damning people willy-nilly or something like that. Did the stream cut out or is it still going? Can you guys... It says excellent connection, then it says nothing's there. I don't know what's going on. Can you guys on the screen see me? Did the internet go out or something? Did it blink out on YouTube? Candace is life. Oh my gosh. Is it still good? Okay, it's just not showing on my studio. Eddie List, what's up? Slimp, what's up? Well Fargo, $10. Please do a review of Angels and Demons with Tom Hanks. Oh man, that's so bad, dude. It's so dumb. I mean, we probably should eventually do it. Maybe we could tie it into this Masonic stuff because I'm going to debate Chase Geyser and 2 Freemasons live in Nashville. So if you guys don't know, coming up in I think 2 weeks or 1 week. Is it 2 weeks or 1 week? We have a live debate in Nashville, me versus Chase Geyser and 2 Freemasons. Let me look and see exactly what date that's going to be. Oh, it's actually next weekend. Wow. I guess I better get on the ball for that. So I'm supposed to debate 2 Freemasons next weekend in Nashville, live event. Excuse me, 3 Chase Geyser and 2 other Freemasons. So it's 1 versus 3. So this will be a wild thing. I've never experienced a 3-on-1 debate. Not worried about it. But I wanted to mention too, in terms of the MAGA rift. I mean, Theo wasn't a really super MAGA, but he was getting kind of close to the Trumps and was kind of a fan of Trump for a while. And then I think he felt kind of betrayed when there was that viral video thing that Homeland Security used as a clip of him or something without his permission. So this went mega viral across X a few days ago. So let's play this.
It's all just a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever.
Hello, does Theo Vaughn watch over here? I don't know, but that's what I've been saying. Like the technocratic agenda marches on no matter who's in the office of the presidency, right? So, and that's not out of the realm of possibility. I did meet Theo Vaughn one time and we had a conversation. We did exchange a couple of emails a few years ago. So maybe he knows. I don't know.
They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out. And it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going, I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think?
How is he losing his marbles when everything he said was in that comment, that rant was correct? I mean, I have to agree with Theo Vaughn on that one. Noah Peterson, $5. Is it okay to dislike? We can't talk about that on YouTube, man. So guys, remember we have, there are still some strictures on the topics that you can discuss and not discuss on YouTube. Nicholas, $5. Shamalama ding dong. Now we got people talking in tongues. Phantasm sends another emoji of a fat bowling ball flying. I can't tell what that is. Luke says for $10. People are saying Donald Trump sounds incoherent. Cognitive decline. For example, Nancy Pelosi always sounded like that. That's also possible too. Like maybe it's cognitive decline. I mean, the presidency, you know, if you notice the people who go in, they usually look kind of normal and healthy. And then when they come out, they look like zombies, right? Like Obama aged massively, coming out looking like a shriveled up, you know, old donut. So I think that the presidency really ages people and perhaps drives them insane. I don't know. Julian Valdez sends $100. Wow, thanks, man. He says, "Blessed, great, and holy Friday." Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Hopefully everybody is having a good Pascha. And then I missed this big one here. Excuse me. Confused carp, 230 Canadian dollars. That's loonies and toonies. My wife and I were received into the church Sunday. Thank you for your huge role in that. You exposed me to orthodoxy and gave me intellectual arguments that I needed to get out of my evangelicalism. That's great, man. Much love to you this Holy Week, and I hope you have a blessed Pascha. Well, you too, man. Appreciate that. I'm sorry I scrolled past. Phantasm sends $5 and sends a wine mom in a cloud. Some weird emojis popping up here. But thank you guys for those really generous super chats. Appreciate that. Let's see. Let's come over here. Schlimp says for $5 twice. Is tag a metaphysical or an epistemological argument? Both or neither? You could make a transcendental argument for God's existence from anything within the domain of epistemology or metaphysics or ethics. So the three domains of philosophy could all be formulated to be a version of the transcendental argument. Mark, did you want to say something? Pepper Prophet says for $20, shake it like a salt shaker, shake it like a salt shaker, shake it like a salt shaker. What's up, Mark?
Hey, man. Hey, thanks for taking my question again. You may have already spoken on this individual in the past, but I've only been listening to you for a short amount of time. But I'm particularly interested in maybe your thoughts on him in regards to this recent Trump post about Trump attacking all these anti-Israel talking heads, right? Candace, Meghan, Tucker, all those people. They got a lot of influence, you know, and he kind of goes at each one of them specifically. But I'm curious why they as in like the administration and Trump himself, haven't attacked Nick Fuentes. I think he has a lot to do with the current dialogue, and I'm not saying you don't, and like, you know, you said Theo Vaughn, maybe he was influenced by you or someone else, but Nick Fuentes has had a lot to do with the current dialogue, I would say, as far as Israel goes. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, it looks like, because he didn't put Theo Vaughn in that list, which is interesting. So he picked basically the largest audience member critics. So perhaps Trump just didn't want to give attention to Nick, or perhaps he just chose a list of people that have a certain tier. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
He's got a lot of motion, though. Like, you can't lie, Nick Fuentes. He really does. He's got a lot of whole.
I'm not saying he does. I'm not saying
ignore him anymore. You know.
I'm not saying that it's not because of Nick. I'm saying Trump's choice in who he listed might have just been numbers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe Trump didn't want to recognize Nick because of Nick's criticisms of Vance. I don't know.
That's what I see. I see it as they just don't want to give him any platform at all, and that's the way I see it too. But I was just curious what you thought. But
yeah, it could be probably something like that. Appreciate it. Let's see. Graham, you want to try again? Making sure I didn't miss anything in the news here.
Hello?
What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call again.
Yeah.
So, I talked earlier, and I guess really the biggest problem that I'm having is being able to find a way to breach the subject. It's not about like Christian anarchy or whatever. It's just about breaching the subject with like other Christian and Catholics that I know in my life that are completely supporting this war and the genocide and war in the name of God. And if you have any like if you could like get like any ideas of like Bible quotes or scriptures or any kind of thing that I could get my foot in the door to be able to show them,
bro, look, I'm trying to, like, it's more important, rather than you trying to fix these dummies at work, is you need to become Orthodox. You need to get your Christianity right before you try to fix everybody else, man. And it's great that politics interests you, but Christianity is not first and foremost a political position of anti-war. So you've got the priorities all out of whack. I thought this was funny too, that Mark Levin and Trump are saying that Tucker is a failure and his show has collapsed, and he just had the #1 show on Spotify. And let's see, and I'm not a fan of Candace, but Candace is #4. So these boomers live in an alternate reality that is totally divorced from reality. I think my phone just died. Well, there went the Twitter space. Apologize for people on Twitter. My phone was not plugged in. I just realized that. So no, this attitude here of critical stance is not the loser position. This is the position that more and more people are adopting, and their shows are way more popular than the normie neocon bullcrap. Fly Guy, what do you think of Drewski's Erica Kirk act? I saw like a reel of it. I didn't pay much attention to it. I'm not a fan of Erica Kirk, so it doesn't bother me that people are making fun of people like that. Ortho Bell, $5. Love your work. My husband and youngest son will be attending Pascha, the service with me. Glory to God. That's great. Kara says for $3, Jay, thank you for knocking out the books for me. You do the reading so I don't have to. Well, I do provide that service for you guys. National Sports Channel, $5. Congratulations on 200K, Jay. Jay Drizzle, much deserved. Quick question. Have you done a review of The Beauty? It's a new show. I've not. I don't know what that is. The Beauty. Do you mean a TV show or a new show in the sense of a movie? Beauty. Rebecca Hall, Ashton Kutcher, FX show. Oh, I think I saw this trailer. Yeah, I think I know what this is. It did look interesting, but no, I've not seen this. Supermodels begin dying in gruesome, mysterious ways. FBI agent Cooper. I wonder if is that a throwback to Agent Dale Cooper? And Jordan Bennett undercover a conspiracy that threatens humanity. Oh wow, we might have to watch this. The corporation that will stop at nothing to protect a $1 billion empire. Yeah, I did see this trailer and I didn't really understand what it was, but this looks interesting. And you know, there is an overlap with the MK Ultra stuff and supermodels, and we got a window into that with the Jeff Stein McEffery stuff, didn't we? Jeff Stein McEffery had a deep, intimate connection to the modeling world through Jean-Luc Brunel, who was, of course, unalived, apparently, in regard to all of this. And that's exactly what it looks like this series is about. So I think we will have to analyze this. We got Jeff Stein McEffery. We got Zoolander level MK Ultra supermodels, such as myself. I'm look smogging right now, for those that are curious. So guys that are going to clip this, here's a new, you guys got to use the good looking me in the thumbnails. You guys keep choosing like the worst picture of me in the thumbnails. So let me give you some thirst traps for the thumbnails. And let me give you a little bit of a diva cam. There you go. Now you guys have some high quality beauty thumbnail information and photographies to use, and you won't have to use that stupid ass ugly AI pictures of me. Jay says for $5, sorry about my connection issues. I was prefacing the strangeness of an Orthodox religious community located in the middle of woods in Kentucky. Now that sounds like a non-canonical cult thing. I would stay away from that. Would religious communities antithetical to orthodoxy be prescribed a government standing would be monarchy? I'm not sure what that question means. I think you're asking what's the right orthodox position. I mean, I argue that monarchy is the most sensible one. Eduardo, the red book finally shipped. I'm excited. Yeah, we finally got all the backordered stuff in today. So a lot of your older orders that you guys have been waiting on finally processed. Griffith, $5. Did you watch or hear about Carpenter's Son, this heretical movie with Nick Cage? I didn't watch it because I don't want my Nick Cage ruined. So I didn't watch it. Tuxedo Mask, $2. Why he kind of mogging though? Who, me? That's just my natural state, dog. Jesus Christon, $2. I used to be a Unitarian Gnostic Miaphysite. I don't even know how you could be those three. Unitarian Gnostic Miaphysite? That's not even, you got to be joking, dude. There was another Nick Cage question that I missed. Let me find it. None of your business, $5. Jay, if you were alone in the forest, would you be afraid of a man, a bear, or Nick Cage in a bear suit? Well, Nick Cage in the bear suit did do a roundhouse kick to Lily Sobieski. So I feel like Nick Cage in a bear suit combines the threat of a bear and a man into one. Fly Guy, Jay, you are Mormon king. Okay. I don't know what that means, but all right. I'll take the kingship of the Mormons and then I'll destroy the whole Mormon cult from within. If you make me the king of the Mormons, you're going to get destroyed from within, dog. Remember to head on over to jaysanalysis.com and get your signed copy in the shop, in the show description of Esoteric Hollywood 1, 2, and 3, and the other amazing texts. You can get my other books, and we do have Jamie's books in stock now. We were waiting on the red books for a while, and then we were waiting on Esoteric Hollywood 2, actually, for a while, because that was the one that was hard to get for a little while. And then we were waiting on Jamie's Bezos printed Hollywood Mind Control book. They were taking forever, and they finally arrived. So we have the books, and your orders are being processed. But you can, of course, get signed copies of all those in the shop at jaysanalysis.com. And thank you guys for buying Esoteric Hollywood 3, and all of that went to the IRS. So, all right, let's see if I missed a super chat here. Josh Rodriguez, $15. Do Richard Dawkins saying, doing impression, you beautiful BIPOC queen.
Ah, yes, Richard Dawkins. Yes, beautiful BIPOC queens. They taste like the flavor of chocolate if you eat them.
How's that? Okay, I think I got to all the super chats here. Also, remember we have a show sponsor, which is choq.com, CHOQ.com, the best in supplementation out there by far. Up your vitality with that male vitality stack that you see right there in the show description, or on the screen and then linked in the show description. Head on over to choq.com. Use the promo code JAY60LIFE, J60LIFE, to get access to all those Choq products and up your toxic masculinity. You'll notice that I don't look as hot, or excuse me, as chunky as I did years ago, and that is due partly to choq.com, the best in supplementation on the interwebs. Our great sponsor, choq.com. Be sure to head on over there and get access to that. And Thank you for your questions. A lot of fun tonight. We will next, of course, get to the old boys. That is next up. We'll be done with old boys very soon. And subscribe to get access to the members content, the part 2, part 1 and part 2, and then part 3 and part 4 of old boys are all there for the members. Please react to Razim Zoomer's new video. Okay, I guess if you guys keep reminding me, if everyone keeps talking about it. Men's issues. No, we did that. H. Brazzi, $5. Linton Demon's got me finna crash out. Don't crash out. Who cares what idiots on the internet say, man? Don't worry about it. Kung Fu John, $5. Can you listen to Endless Digital Footprint by Stoizy? It's cringecore. I put a $10 super chat in earlier. Let's see. Kung Fu John. Scrolling, I'm looking for Kung Fu John's previous super chat. Noah Peterson, I missed this one, $10. He says, the great Jay Dyer, American patriot who exposes globalists very bigly on a daily basis. Those are caps. So he was doing a great boomer Trump texting impression. The great Jay Dyer, American patriot, exposes the globalists very bigly on a daily basis. Probably the best out there. Kung Fu Johnson for $10. You listen to Endless Digital Footprint. I mean, is it copyrighted? I don't like Endless Digital Footprint by Stoizy. Or are you asking me to listen to it off air? Definitely is looking like cringecore. Oof. All right. I can't play too much of it. I don't want to ding it. Let's see what else we got here. Ugh, it's cringecore, but it's even unlistenable. So, yep, definitely cringe. It's missing the core though. It's just cringe. Eugene, congratulations on 200K. Thank you, man. Tuxedo, $2. Did you ever get tempted to become a Masonic sorcerer? No, I never thought Masonry was interested. Masonry just always sounded stupid to me. Never thought it was cool or interesting, or no interest in any of that. Guys, thank you so much. Everybody have a good night. A lot of fun tonight. A little more of a lighthearted. Actually, the first part of it, we got pretty deep into some geopolitical conspiracy topics. And then we got into religious topics. And then all around. We made the rounds. Candace Mac, $10. As an American living in Japan, inquiring to Orthodox, do you have any thoughts on the Orthodox Church in Japan? I mean, I've heard good things. I think we've had a few parishioners who visited some Orthodox churches in Japan, and they spoke very well of their experiences. But I don't know anything about Orthodoxy in Japan. But I heard it's growing. But beyond that, I don't know much else. So thank you guys so much. A lot of fun tonight. And be sure and like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave some comments below if you had a good time tonight.